buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
The director of The Last Dance, Jason Hare, joins us on the program.
Getting to the bottom of the stories that really matter.
You okay with the pizza story? Now it's food poisoning, not the flu here, Jace?
A lot of people I saw online last night, and people were texting me asking, like, what kind of guy eats an entire pizza in a room full of grown men? Who doesn't grab a slice? So he came back, and he was pissed off because they ate without him. So he spat on the pizza so that nobody else could eat it.
And that is why Jordan's the greatest. LeBron would eat half the pizza and then he'd stop. He'd need a rest day. He'd get to the last slice. Probably wouldn't even want to eat it. He'd be like, here, you take the last slice.
Soft.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
Jordan would have never done this.
This is Dan Patrick.
It's hour one on this Tuesday, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Glad to have you on board, allowing us into your lives. And come in and stay a while. You can watch, you can listen, you can tweet if you like, you can email, you can do all the above. Coming up in a little bit, we'll talk about LeBron James talking about Michael Jordan as a teammate and some interesting comments on that. Adrian Wojnarowski, the ESPN senior NBA insider, will join us coming up in a little bit. Are we inching closer to a season, inching closer to not having a season? We'll talk to Woj about that coming up. Governors of New York, Texas, and California said yesterday they will support the return of professional sports. Now, it looks like it's going to be without fans. And it's a good sign for people rooting for the return of sports. There was particular concern about New York and California. But now that they're okay with teams coming back, leagues can really get to work planning this out. Maybe you don't have to have a plan B. Maybe you're able to carry out plan A. But it feels like plan B and plan C are still on the agenda. Various practice facilities are opening up around the nation. Some of the NFL teams are opening up. It feels like there's movement. And I know it's been at a snail's pace, or at least it feels that way. But it feels like once one team, one league, one commissioner makes a decision, then others will follow. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Major League Baseball laid out a set of restrictive guidelines that are going to be hard to meet here. The NFL is reportedly looking at, can they incorporate the medical mask into the game? Not hearing much from the NBA. And I view that as a good sign because it feels like when these commissioners are talking, it feels like they're putting things out for the media to disseminate, for us to provide opinions on it, and then they go back to the drawing board. Feels like the NBA is saying, let's emerge with a plan, stick to the plan, and see if we can make this happen. It's a long process, but having buy-ins from the governors of the three biggest states is an important step and a reason to be cautiously optimistic that we're going to have a full slate of sports returning. Here is the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, on returning in June.
Sporting events, pro sports in that first week or so of June without spectators and modifications and very prescriptive conditions also can begin to move forward, and a number of other sectors of our economy will open up again if we hold these trend lines in the next number of weeks, and that includes, for example, getting a haircut.
Okay. Now, you realize how quickly this has changed. To last week where the governor said, hey, we're going to extend this for 3 more months, the stay at home. Now, here we are. That's why when you make these arbitrary deadlines, this is when we're coming back, this is what we're going to do, it's fluid. Hopefully, we're able to, you get one chance, it feels like, to do this right. And that's what the leagues have to understand. You got one chance, do it right, so you don't have a second wave or a backlash or something goes wrong. You ensure that this is the best we can do, and we're going to try it. Because it feels like if it doesn't, that's when seasons get shut down. Here is the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, on opening for business.
I also have been encouraging major sports teams to plan reopenings without fans, but the games could be televised. New York State will help those major sports franchises to do just that. Hockey, basketball, baseball, football, whoever can reopen. We're a ready, willing, and able partner.
And he's a big Buffalo Bills fan, so he says he wants to see the Buffalo Bills. It's going to happen. The question is, what's it going to look like when it happens? What's it going to feel like when it happens? I go back to 9 weeks ago. That's when the sports world changed. That's really when the world changed. That's when our country changed. March 11th, Wednesday saw the sports world response escalate dramatically. It ended the day with the NBA suspending its season. We started out with the World Health Organization declaring the virus a pandemic. Baseball then was starting to look at alternative sites. They weren't sure what they were going to be able to do, contingency plans. Could they play baseball in an empty stadium? The NBA considered the same initiatives. The Warriors announced they would play home games without fans in the foreseeable future. Then the Ivy League canceled all spring sports. They canceled their basketball tournament. The Ivy League canceled their basketball tournament for the team to go to the NCAA. That caught our attention, but then people responded by saying, yeah, but it's not a moneymaker for the Ivy League, so this isn't a big deal. Okay, this is all on the same day. So the Ivy League did that. NCAA announced it would hold March Madness without fans after days of pressure to do so. You also had Rudy Gobert test positive for the virus. The NBA promptly suspended its season indefinitely. That's all on March 11th. 5 NBA teams quarantined after potential exposure to coronavirus from Rudy Gobert. The next day, March 12th, Donovan Mitchell of the Jazz tested positive. One day after his teammate Rudy Gobert tested positive. MLS suspended its season for 30 days. The ATP shut down for 6 weeks. U.S. Soccer called off its men's national team and women's national team friendlies. Every power conference in the NCAA canceled their conference tournaments. Big Ten, Pac-12, Big East, ACC, Big 12, SEC decided to end their seasons because of the virus. Multiple NFL teams limited travel for coaches and scouts. They were getting ready for the NFL draft. Baseball announced that it would delay the beginning of the season for a minimum of 2 weeks. This is all within a span of 48 hours. NBA announced that they would suspend play for at least 30 days before reassessing. Basketball tournaments were canceled, men's and women's, on March 12th. Rudy Gobert came out and apologized for people that I endangered. And after round one of the PGA Championship, the PGA Tour on Thursday night canceled the event until the Masters, all events. That's 2 days, and it's been a long 9 weeks. We're hopeful. We want it to come back. It kind of signifies that the spirit we have. We can make it through this. This helps. I understand all of those things. Here's something that you should really keep an eye on. And once again, you have a lot of leagues, commissioners, schools that are waiting for somebody to do something and then they can follow. Notre Dame announced that they're coming back in August and wrapping up the semester before Thanksgiving. I think this is going to be a trendsetter, and this is for college football. The president, Reverend John Jenkins, reimagined fall semester on campus might mean to sports, particularly football, starts predictably with a hypothetical. What you're going to see, and what we could see, I should say, what we could see, you start school on August 10th, and then you go until October, you finish before Thanksgiving, and then you're done with that first semester. So Thanksgiving, you're done. Is that when we have football coming back? So the students leave, they go on their break, and then they don't come back until after Christmas. Can you put a football season in that window? So this is just a hypothetical to allow these football players to come back and play, and how you can do this in that time frame while still allowing students on campus. It's just a hypothetical, but that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with hypotheticals right now. And the question is, can we get other schools to look at that window there? I still think the Pac-12's in a lot of trouble here. of trying to. I told you that they were only going to play conference games, and that came out yesterday, that's what they're looking at. They're going to try to play conference games. Now you have the California governor saying we're sort of open for business. That helps them. The NFL teams in California, are they looking at alternative sites for the first month of the season? All hypotheticals, plan B, plan C, whatever it is. These are all things that they're thinking of. But the governor's coming out in New York, Texas, and California is really big. Now the question is, what's the next step? What's the next league to come back? NASCAR came back, no fans, 6 million fans watching, 6 million viewers. Best ratings they've had in 3 years there. A little bit of soccer coming back. Premier League is going to be coming back. So we're inching back. But we should be taking baby steps because it comes back to what I said before. We got one shot. Because if somebody tests positive when we come back for the NBA season, we're done. What are you going to do with baseball? Now they're saying, hey, you can't spit. If you're on first base, there's just things that need to be worked out. Can you hold a runner on? How close? I mean, that's not 6 feet. Social distancing. There's a lot of things here still in play. But do I think that we're making progress, making a turn here? I hope. That's all I can do is hope. This program brought to you by LegalZoom. They make it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. We'll check in with the former baseball player, the mayor, Sean Casey from MLB Network. He'll join us coming up. We'll talk about, can we play what is baseball going to look like, feel like, sound like when we come back? Also, Mike Florio will join us. We'll talk to him about some teams. Are they getting an unfair advantage that they can open up their facilities and other teams can't? So we'll talk to Florio coming up a little bit later on. Once again, LeBron James has some thoughts about The Last Dance, about Michael Jordan as a teammate, and, of course, the LeBron haters are going to jump all over this. But welcome to the program. You can watch on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. You can also dial us up, 877-3DP-SHOW. We're part of the Fox Sports Radio lineup, 362 radio affiliates around the country. Have a play of the day, stat of the day, and a poll question, McLovin. What do you have for me today?
Okay, I think we might have asked this before, but which of the pro sports needs fans the most? Baseball, college football, pro football, NBA, or NHL?
College football.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, college football.
What about a baseball and all the gate they get because they have so many fans that come in? I feel like they also kind of need it, or no?
Well, wait a minute. I'm confused, though, because if you're saying college football fans are part of the event, whereas baseball fans aren't, NFL fans aren't necessarily, NBA fans aren't necessarily, like college football is part of the college football fan experience. As far as losing money, we're looking at some of these raw numbers that baseball owners are saying what they're going to lose per game without having fans there. So one is a business decision. The other one is the aesthetics of watching a sporting event and what those fans mean to that sporting event. What else do you have?
Are they tied together, though? You know, doesn't college football stand to lose financially if they water down their product?
Yeah, but baseball is only talking about the amount of money. College football, it's about us going to a game. There's not the same passion of going to a baseball game as there is going to a college football game. But yeah, they're all intertwined because of the bottom line is the amount of money that's going to be lost here. That's the reason why you have these athletic directors, these presidents, these governors. They're trying to get sports back in some way, shape, or form because of the amount of money that's at stake here. Yeah, McLeod.
Yeah, no, I wonder though, MLB, I feel like the fans, like we always show those beer spilling videos and I feel like the experience of sitting in a baseball game we're underrating a little bit because that's how I grew up on the sport. And now it feels like, is that going to be a good TV sport?
Yeah, but the fans don't matter at a baseball game.
Okay.
I mean, okay, I see a foul ball and a guy makes a catch or something. And other than that, somebody's doing the wave, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. College football does. The NFL does because there's a home crowd advantage there in certain stadiums. There's a true home field advantage. When's the last time somebody said, boy, they got a great home field advantage in baseball?
Not in a long time.
No.
But the truth is, am I going to have to sit and watch 9 innings of a baseball game now?
You would probably do that right now. You'd watch an entire baseball game.
I watched a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
I have an NBA poll
All right.
with Woj coming up. If you were the NBA, would you consider jumping straight to the playoffs?
I don't think you can do it right away because I think you have to have a little bit of a grace period there. There has to be a transitional period for these players. They have to get ready, and I'm thinking 5 games. So I'm going to give you 2 weeks to get ready, and then there's going to be 5 games, and then that allows these teams, and I think there's a couple of teams that might be able to still make it into the playoffs. You got the standings, Paulie?
Yeah, the East is pretty set. The Orlando Magic are 30 and 35, and they have the ace seed. The Washington Wizards are 5 games behind them, so that would be really tough. The East is just about set. The Memphis Grizzlies are 32 and 33. They have the 8th seed in the West. The Trailblazers and the Pelicans and the Kings and the Spurs are all within 3 games of the ace spot.
Okay.
4 games of the ace spot.
Yeah, if you have 5 games there, and then you go into the postseason. But I would do an abbreviated postseason as far as the number of games in each series. I would try to get as quickly to the conference finals and the NBA finals as I can. What else do you have, McLovin?
Okay, I have a MJ LeBron question, but I don't know if I want to do this early because you're in a good mood now and it might get you fired up.
Why don't you save it?
Okay.
We'll save it there. We'll talk to Woj about what are the plans for the NBA season to resume. Frank in Ohio joins us. Hey, Frank. Hey, Frank. Hey, Frank. See you, Frank. Try again. 877
Francis.
Yeah, 3.
Starting out strong.
Help the team a little.
877-3DP show. Yeah, we got to start off. Marvin, we got to start off with a great phone call. We can't just start and then all of a sudden you go, where is Frank?
Come on, Frankie.
You're better than that. Yeah, Paulie.
You call into a sports radio show, you be ready to talk.
Unless he thought, look, Dan doesn't normally take phone calls in the first segment, but I don't know. You got to be ready there. Come on, Frank. You're better than that. All right, we'll come back with our poll question. Stat of the day, play of the day. We'll talk to Woj about the NBA season. Check in with Florio as well. We'll talk some baseball with Sean Casey. All of that coming up, and you can be part of the program in a variety of ways here. 18 after the hour, just getting started on this Tuesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. You check things all the time, your email, your Instagram. How about checking something as important as your credit? Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores. That's the score used by 90% of top lenders for free, even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes there. The Discover Credit Scorecard is free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. Do you find yourself repeating what your dad probably said to you growing up?
Yeah, some in most circumstances, yeah, I do find that.
More as a coach or as a parent?
Both. My dad's always been kind of my go-to guy, Dan. I think everybody needs a go-to person, and I found with my dad, and he learned me from an early age to do what he told me to do, and I got in the habit of, whatever my dad told me to do, I would do exactly how he told me to do it, with numbing repetition. I kept finding from a young age that if I just did what he told me to do and how he told me to do it, exactly how he told me to do it, I would have success. So he's always been that person for me, that go-to person that, whether it's professionally, personally, coaching-wise, I do what he learned me to do what he told me, and he's right most all the time.
Will he be honest with you?
Yes. I mean, there was Honest Abe, and there's Jack Harbaugh. I mean, this is a man who says what he means and means what he says.
Thanks again for yesterday. That was a lot of fun, and I meant what I said about your father. He's a treasure. He's a real treat, and I really enjoyed it.
I heard you talking about that. Me, not so much. Didn't quite rise to the level of.
Well,
I get it. I've heard that. I've heard that my whole life. My dad is. He is. He's a great man. He can have a conversation with my dad. Here's the one thing I really kind of envious about my dad. I wish I was more like, but I don't have this quality as much as he does, is you could have a 15-minute or 20-minute conversation with my dad, and you'd walk away. I really know him. I really, like him. I really connected with him. And where I'm a little bit more like, I don't make the greatest first impression, but I grow on you after some time. But he's got that great first impression, and
like when he comes in the room, he's in the room. I mean,
he's got this mantra, and it's attack each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. And Ralph Waldo Emerson, believed that nothing great can be achieved without enthusiasm. And there's, two great minds, two great men, both, think alike and choose to live their life with tremendous enthusiasm. That rubs off on you. It rubs off on you when you meet him for the first time. It rubs off on you when he's your dad. It rubs off on you when he's your coach. He instills you with this positive, tremendous enthusiasm. He affects you every day in a positive manner. That's who he is as a person.
He's lefty.
Yeah. So he's Bob Rule. Okay.
He's Bob Lanier.
Am I getting a couple practice?
Yeah, no, he's not that good.
Oh, okay.
He's got range. Buddy, this is a lot of pressure right here.
Oh, give me. Wait.
Oh, crazy.
You can't airball. You got
this,
Kareem.
You got this, pal. Boom.
Okay.
All right.
So what do you think?
It went in. That's all it counts.
I got to tell you, real quick story. My dad used to hit hook shots in the neighborhood in Brooklyn growing up all the time, lefty, righty. And then I decided I used to play with my brother, who was a lot bigger than me, and his friends were a lot older than me, and they'd always block the ball in my face. So I was trying to figure out, why don't I try to do what Kareem does? If I release it from back here, it's a lot tougher for them to put in my face. And that's how that started, trying to copy my dad.
If Kareem was here like this,
could I get it over him?
What?
Yeah. Would I be able to hit it?
Of course.
Let's give it a
Kareem,
shot.
stand here. See if you can shoot. Can you just stand and put your hand up? How they used to prepare for UCLA, they'd get on a chair with a broom.
Are you going to give me more than one chance?
Tennis rackets, actually.
Oh, tennis racket. Okay, here we go.
There you go.
Oh!
I got to hit one.
Getting closer to him. Getting closer to him. You got blocked by Kareem, man. Chat Row, you wanted them, you got them. The all-new redesigned store at danpatrick.com. The shirt designed by you for you. Bunch of other new gear. Check it out at danpatrick.com. Chat Row t-shirt is available. 877-3DP Show. Email address dp at danpatrick.com. We'll get to phone calls here, settle on a poll question. McLovin's sitting on one that has to do with LeBron and Jordan. Of course, we're going for clicks here. Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN senior NBA insider, joining us on the program. Woj, good morning. How are you?
Dan, good morning. I'm great.
All right, where do we stand here? The NBA's been pretty quiet. Is that a good sign or a bad sign?
I think it's been a good sign. I mean, if you want the league back and that's the goal here, I think they're moving toward that, Dan. And they've been putting all the contingencies in place, and really what they're waiting for is Adam Silver to just kind of hit the green light here, probably sometime in June. But they've been moving toward it, and they've got, Silver's done a pretty remarkable job of keeping a lot of the details very tight, even away from his owners, front office, the union, in terms of exactly how many teams would come back. I think the site is starting to narrow down. to a 1 or 2 site scenario, but there's certainly momentum toward the league coming back.
Now, when you're talking about site or sites, are we talking about Vegas, Orlando? Are those the 2 sites that are in conversations?
That's right, Dan. And Orlando has had a lot of traction. And I think the question is going to be, are they going to put all the teams in one place? Or are they going to perhaps have teams moving among 2 sites based on an Eastern Western Conference scenario? But the one thing Adam Silver has told the players and told the owners, what he doesn't want are teams flying around. You're not going to see what baseball's proposing, which is teams moving around playing in home stadiums. The NBA is focused on a 1 site, no fans, and then they're going to deal with trying to get back into arenas again, buildings again, for the start of next season.
So just to recap, you're looking at least maybe 1 permanent site here for the postseason, or possibly 2 permanent sites with Vegas and Orlando, where you have East Coast and West Coast teams. And
that's possible. That's one way they could do it, Dan. They may put everybody in 1 site. The thing that we don't know yet, and I think they're still working through, is, are they bringing back all 30 teams? Are they bringing back just the playoff teams, or something maybe in between it, where you would have, let's say, the 7. There was a talk there was a vote that was actually coming to do for next year, which was the play-in tournament at the end of the season. I mean, like a year ago, that's all we were talking about. That was the big issue in the league: play-in tournament, mid-season tournament. But they could, in bringing these teams back, do a play-in tournament that might take you through the 10th seed or maybe even the 12th seed. And, then it's how many teams are you bringing back? Do you leave out maybe the bottom few teams in each conference? But I don't have I think they've discussed all of that, Dan, but they still may very well bring back all 30. There may be teams who don't want to be left out in that way. And this is where it gets tough for Adam Silver when you have to start making decisions. I think his handling of the matter has been very popular within the league and probably even outside the league. But it gets more difficult when you start to have decisions made that have consequences, impact people, and then people are less happy with you.
Has everybody been paid? All of the players, their entire salaries?
Well, starting on May 15th, so I don't even know what the date is anymore. I
think it's the 18th.
The 18th. Starting on May 15th, they started to withhold 25% of the players' remaining salaries, so that if games are canceled, then I think we can assume there'll at least be some regular season games canceled. They're not going to come back and be able to play them all. Then the owners take back a percentage of that money. It's basically 1% of player salaries based on how many games they miss. And so now they've had withholding taken from their salary, so they don't have to take it all out at once at the end of the season.
It's the 19th, Woj. I was wrong. I'm right there with you. Like, I at least know the month. I don't know the day. We're talking to Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN senior NBA insider. Are the power brokers involved in this? Chris Paul, LeBron James, some of the other notable players with the commissioner?
Chris Paul is the president of the Players Association, so he's very much in that conversation. Dan, him, Michelle Roberts, Adam Silver, they talk frequently. The one advantage that Silver has in this scenario, maybe even over baseball right now, I think there's a stronger relationship between the star players and the commissioner. Maybe not necessarily the owners, but the commissioner, and that helps in selling what has to be sold here, which is the 1 site concept. And he's gotten feedback from players about how they feel about that bubble idea, what they might like and not like about it, because he really needs the cooperation of the Players Association and by extension, really the star players, because they do drive maybe more than any other sport. I think they drive the conversation among the 450 players in the league. And if you can sell your star players and what it is that you want to accomplish, how you need to do it, they can go out and start selling it with their peers too. And Adam Silver's understood that. And he has made his star players a big part of the conversation, because there's a lot of real difficult economic conversations coming between the union and the players, or the union and the league, and they're going to have to alter how the salary cap looks for next year, and luxury tax, and a lot of boring, dry financial topics that are going to absolutely have a big impact on competitive balance in the league. What the league's really worried about, Dan, is not so much what happens this summer, but what happens next year if they can't have fans in arenas, or if they have to have like a social distancing situation with fans, where in a 20,000 seat arena maybe you can only have 4,000 or 5,000 people, and how do you manage that? Because the revenue stream of the league, 40% of it depends upon basically game night receipts.
I know this sounds crazy, but if we start to inch closer to deeper into the summer, is there any chance the commissioner would say, I'm going to take the 2 top teams in the East and the 2 top teams in the West, therefore I can cut down the travel and the number of people involved in this, and I can reduce the odds of somebody testing positive? You basically have a Final Four for the NBA. Could you ever see us? Because they're bound and determined to crown a champion here, Woj.
They are determined to crown a champion, Dan, but I think they want to crown a legitimate champion, and I don't think they would see that as legitimacy. There won't be a playoff team left behind. Now, after the playoff teams, that may still be up for debate. But one thing Adam Silver did say in a call with the players, that his goal was to have 7-game series in each playoff round, and that they wouldn't cut it down to a best of 5 in any round, and try to make the champion as legitimate as it can be.
Yeah, I had heard that they were looking at a 5-game series for the first round, and then they would eventually get to 7 games. But you're refuting that with your information, so I certainly trust that.
But Dan, when you say they were talking about it, I do think they were talking about it. I think they knew all of it was based on how many days do we have to play with here? How many days do we have? But the goal is to do it in 7-game series. But that doesn't mean they haven't discussed. They've discussed everything. Yeah. And I do think that was one of the conversations. What would that look like? I know their preference is to try to keep those playoffs best of 7 all the way through.
I'll leave you.
Here's what you don't want in the first round. I mean, if you don't want a 1-8 upset. Like, this isn't the last thing you want is a 5-game series where the 8th seed has a better chance. I mean, come on, we know you don't really want that.
No. I'll leave you with this. Are we pushing back the 2021 season, no matter what happens the rest of this summer?
I think it's increasingly likely, Dan, and I think pushing it back gives the league next year more time to have more dates where they could have fans in the arena. Because if you start in mid-October, which you can't do anyway if this season pushes into late September or into September, it just buys the league more time to kind of kick the can down the road to have fans in buildings, because that's what they're really worried about.
If you were covering Jordan now in that last year with the questions that have emerged from that, like how would you approach that as an NBA insider of, the flu game or the food poisoning game, Jerry Krause, Phil Jackson, can you bring him back? Like, could you let us into your world of how you think you would have approached that in today's world?
I think the one difference, Dan, might have been, and there was immortal NBA writers, media then, who are covering it day to day. I think there's more attention now on the salary cap and the financial impact of the decision Scottie Pippen might have had on a 1-year, $14 million deal versus doing the sign and trade. I think there would have been more attention paid to the economics and the cap and how difficult it would have been to bring the whole group back. I think that's probably a small difference in it.
Not the other stuff with Jordan?
I think it was all covered. I just think it was covered in newspapers. It was covered on SportsCenter. I don't get the sense it wasn't all covered. I just think that the platforms were different and it didn't inundate us like it might with social media now.
But how would social media have affected Michael Jordan?
Ooh, good question. It's affected every great player that I've ever covered or been around. And because if you're looking for slights, like, hey, listen, social media is not the place to go for self-affirmation. Like, if you're looking to feel better about yourself, it's generally not the place you'd go, probably even for Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Hey, Woj, great stuff. And thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Anytime, Dan.
That's Adrian Wojnarowski, the Woj podcast there, where he discusses the hottest topics around the league, only on the Woj podcast. Yeah, how we cover the NBA now as opposed to how it was covered back then. Social media is so, it's omnipresent there. And no matter what happens, no matter what's said, how it's said, it's always interpreted differently with the number of critics, so-called critics, that you'll have on social media there. And I wonder if Michael, how he would have handled any type of criticism that he would have gotten. Because it felt like in Chicago, there were people who had to ask some tough questions. Outside of Chicago, it felt like everybody was there for the ride. You wanted to see the amusement park. In Chicago, you still had to cover these things. Now, did you go all in? Did you go, Woodward and Bernstein here on Michael Jordan and the Bulls? Probably not. You don't want to bite the hand that feeds. And we do know Mike can hold a grudge for a decade or 2 or 3. He doesn't hold a grudge. He strangles a grudge. Man. All right, couple of phone calls in here. Oh, look who's back. Frank in Ohio is back. Hey, Frank.
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
What happened?
My phone tapped out. I had it on speakerphone so I could hear it, and the next thing you know, I heard a little. Actually, I heard nothing, and I was like, what the heck happened? And somehow my call just blanked out. So my apologies on that.
Well, wait. Are you calling with the same phone that died, Frank?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay.
To say the least, no.
You got a burner phone.
Yes. Calling from the neighborhood of Springfield, Ohio. I have a 2-part question for you.
All right.
First one is, and you kind of touched upon it, do you think, you talk about the advantages that Jordan would have playing in today's NBA game, do you think his burnout would have been accelerated because of all the media coverage, or he would have been burned out sooner? And the second question is, would you consider doing a last dance if you knew you was going to retire, even at the risk of your reputation of being a nice guy?
Would I or Jordan?
No, would you do a last dance documentary your last year on the air?
No, I don't think so. But thank you, Frank. Social media probably would have sped up the process here with Michael Jordan. Social media with his baseball career would have really roughed him up. Basketball was hard to complain with what you saw with Michael. Baseball, social media would have roughed Michael up. And no, I wouldn't want to do a last dance behind the scenes. I mean, we're doing a documentary every single day. Everything is documented. It's all in front of you. And we have 13 cameras in here. So I don't know what else they would show you, because even during the commercial breaks, you get to hear what we're talking about. Yeah, Paul.
If there was a behind-the-scenes documentary of this show, you'd be drastically bored. I mean, can you imagine us? Someone's shooting a couple free throws. Someone's making eggs.
Yeah, that's sort of what we do. You get to watch us do this. You get to watch us make the sausage. Literally, watch us make the sausage. Bryce in Minnesota joins us. Hey, Bryce, what do you have for me today?
Hey, DP.
Hey,
6 foot, 210. Hey, just wanted to bring up an interesting tidbit. I listened to Pardon My Take from Barstool Sports with PFT and Big Cat yesterday, and they had Karl Malone on. And, I recall back to the Last Dance documentary, and Jason yesterday said that they asked Karl 100 times, and, they got a no every single time. But yesterday on PMT, they asked Karl if he had got asked to do the interview, and just hard no, simple no. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bryce. Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, I talked to the guys at Pardon My Take because I heard that yesterday. They asked him briefly, were you asked to do the Jordan documentary? And he said no, but he also told him he didn't want to talk about Jordan in the whole thing, before and during, that he didn't want to talk about Jordan. So he said that he wasn't really.
I'm confused. He
was asked briefly on the air, were you asked to be in the documentary?
No, did the director, Jason Hare, ask Karl Malone to be in the documentary?
Yes, Jason confirmed to me that he asked Karl Malone directly and indirectly a dozen different times over the course of 2 years, and made every effort to come to him to do a dual interview with him and Stockton in every fashion. And Karl Malone saying he was not asked, though.
Well, that doesn't make sense that Karl Malone wasn't asked.
Right, which he was.
That's silly. I believe what Jason Harris saying that, hey, I reached out to everybody. They interviewed 106 people. Are you trying to tell me that Karl Malone, who played an integral part in the final sequence of Jordan's final days, that doesn't make sense at all. Brian Russell was asked. Brian Russell didn't respond to being interviewed for the Last Dance documentary. And Brian Russell is only a footnote as he's there when Jordan, gets the shot off against him. That's it. That's all anybody ever talks about when they mention Brian Russell. That's it. Karl Malone's the second all-time leading scorer in NBA history? Won the MVP that year? Karl Malone would have been one of the guys, if you go top 10 guys we got to get for the documentary, aside from the Bulls, Karl Malone's in the top 10 of guys that you're going to seek out. He and Stockton, but more Karl Malone than Stockton. All right, we'll take a break. Play of the day coming up. LeBron James talks about being Michael Jordan's teammate. Oh, my God. Let the clicks begin. Controversy. Back after this. Do you get people coming up and, how serious do they take the Rudy movie? Because my guys were upset with Joe Montana when Montana said, a lot of fiction in the movie Rudy. And my guys were upset with Joe Montana.
He was absolutely right. Joe Montana was right. There was a lot of fiction in the movie, and it's based on a true story. But I want to say a couple things. When Joe Montana was a freshman, when Rudy was a senior, Joe Montana, when the movie came out, was one of the only people to get behind the story. He said he remembered Rudy. He said he really respected what happened on that thing. He was a really positive person around it. I don't know how many Super Bowl rings you have to win in order for when somebody meets you on the street to say, hey, did you meet the real guy who dressed for one game, who played for 27 seconds? I think Joe Montana has every right to put a little bit of context around the movie because he's a real person and he had a real experience. The movie, Rudy actually put out, when the movie came out, a list of things that were absolute creative license. For example, and Dan Devine called into a radio station when Rudy was promoting the movie, and he said, if any kid would have put their jersey on my desk, they never would have seen it again. And it was a dramatization of an idea that the players were supporting him. Not true in the sense of did it actually historically happen. Other things. The one thing that I get all the time, and I've developed a really good answer for it, people say Rudy was offsides on his play where he sacked the quarterback. And my answer is they didn't call it. So there you go. So is it offsides if you don't call it?
You can still be offsides.
Well, so according to who? The judgment of a fan in the stands? According to the game, nobody called Rudy offsides. Therefore, as a part of the athletic historical record, he was not offside.
How many takes did you have to perform to get the sack?
One. The band at the University of Notre Dame that year, 1992, gave us, I think, 15 minutes of their half hour, which is really amazing because, when you're a band member and you play every single moment that you get to play in front of 50,000 people and on television sometimes, that's glory time. You've worked your whole life as a trumpet player to be able to do that. For them to say it's okay, we'll let this movie film there, we'll give up that, was a pretty nice gesture. So, and we had 2 games we were going to do it. The first game was against Boston College. When we all went off, when the real game came off and all of a sudden the movie players came on, nobody left. It was like people, I'm sure, felt like they were having an acid flashback from the 70s because there's all these teams in 70s. And they loved it. And when I sacked the quarterback, people knew exactly how to cheer because they were watching a Notre Dame player sack a Boston College player. And then the next weekend against Penn, it was snowing, so it wouldn't have looked the same. So they could only use the footage from the other game. But I got to watch Jerome Bettis score a touchdown in the last seconds of the game in that game, and it was like, it was pretty
Well, there's
special.
pressure, though, for an actor with one take to do it, because normally they'll say, do it again. If you slip, if you screw it up, if you miss the sound. I mean, that's just you being an athlete is what it is, Sean.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, you're a pro's pro.
There were butterflies, I'm not going to lie. But, yeah, you have to – look, if you do a live television show, you're live. Like, so we had a live football scene, and you got to –
That's what this is
it was
every
a
day,
game. It was a
Sean.
game. I know. 3 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Dan Patrick crushing it.
Yes. I'm sort of the Rudy of sports.
Yeah, you're more like the Joe Montana.
More like Joe Montana?
More like the
Thank
Joe
you.
Montana.
Oh my God.
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! They're gonna play it and play it.
This is the play of the day.
Check this out. If there was any question before coming in, whatever a computer could calculate, some algorithm could spit out, this is just going to validate what I think most people knew. He's the #1 player in the game.
It's a Koepka coronation.
Courtesy of PGA. Jim Nance with a call on this day. Last year, Brooks Koepka won the PGA Championship for the second year in a row. You know what stood out there? Crowd noise. Sounded great. Play of the day. Play of the day brought to you by Traeger. They just celebrated Traeger Day on Saturday. Traeger Grills, the ultimate way to cook. Contact your local dealer or visit TraegerGrills.com/DP show to get yours today. Nick in San Diego back on the show. Hi, Nick. What do you have for me today?
How we doing, buddy?
Good, sir. What's on your mind, Nick?
So, me being from San Diego, I was thinking, this is just an idea. What if the Pac-12 maybe broke into like a North and a South, and like, for example, the Southern Pac-12 absorbed like the Mountain West Conference to add more teams to be able to play in a closer reference. So that way, like UCLA plays San Diego State as opposed to having to go all the way to Arizona.
Well, I think it's a good idea in concept, but it's not going to happen. Thank you, Nick. We're going to have Chip Kelly on, UCLA's head coach, I believe, is joining us tomorrow. Yeah, the Pac-12 is trying to sort this out. They're just going to have conference games. Here was what I was told yesterday, reinforced today, and that is the other conferences are looking at the SEC and saying the SEC is planning on coming back in June. When you have the alpha dog here, that's when everybody else is going, well, wait a minute here. You know, USC and Alabama is not going to happen in Texas, in Arlington, in Jerry's stadium there. It's not going to happen. Alabama might end up playing TCU because TCU is local and they could still play that game. I don't see USC and Alabama playing, to kick off the college football season. Pac-12, not quite sure what's going to happen with their schools. Can you travel? You're stretched all over the place. How many different states are involved here and the proximity? Although California may be now open for business will help. But the SEC is the alpha dog here, folks. And they're planning on coming back in June. So that's something to keep an eye on. All right, McLovin, you got a poll question?
Yeah, I went ahead and put it up there for clicks. The question is, who would you rather have as a teammate?
Oh, no.
LeBron or MJ? And there's already some Twitter feedback that it's too obvious.
Too obvious who I want as my teammate.
Yeah, people are saying, of course you want LeBron because he's going to pass you the ball more. Some people are saying that.
Yeah, I understand that. But you might say, am I going to win? Like, how important is winning in all of this? Also, you might go, how enjoyable is this going to be? Because we can look out as outsiders and go, man, that must have been crazy, but you're still winning championships. Those guys who were part of this, I don't know how much enjoyment was there. I think there's a whole lot of enjoyment now when you take a victory lap. I don't know if they enjoyed this like we did watching it. Yeah, Paul.
I would want LeBron as my teammate as long as Michael Jordan isn't somebody else's teammate. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if Michael Jordan's not in the league, sure, I want LeBron as my teammate. Reggie said it yesterday. He would like LeBron as his teammate. And then you asked him, what gives you a better chance to win? He goes, oh, Michael.
LeBron was asked the After Party podcast, and he was asked about playing with Michael Jordan. He had this to say.
I know me personally, the way I play the game, where it comes to like team first, I just feel like my best assets work perfectly with Mike. Mike is an assassin. Mike is an assassin when it comes to that, playing the game of basketball, the way he scored the ball, you know, my ability to pass, my ability to read the game, and then just taking the challenge. Like, I love when a teammate come to me and challenge me and tell me, okay, all right, come on now. All right, 6, you know, when I was in Miami, D-Wade used to be like, all right, 6, let's go. You know, T. Lou used to challenge me a lot when I was in Cleveland. He'd be like, all right, bro, what you waiting on? You know what I'm saying? And I just see that from Mike. And, you know, I just feel like our games was just a perfect correlation to be able to just be successful.
Okay, that's the current philosophy of the NBA. Partner up. Now, that LeBron is not saying that, but this is how it's going to be viewed. This will be the prism that it's viewed through is, oh, LeBron couldn't beat Michael. He would want to join Michael. That's not what he's saying. He's asked about this. How would you, if you're playing with Jordan, how would your abilities, assets fit in with Michael Jordan? He said they would be great. He would be an upgrade over Scottie Pippen, is what he's saying. Now, this is the difference, though. If you ask Michael Jordan this, Michael would, I'm just guessing here, but knowing Michael a little bit, I would think if somebody said, hey, how would your skill level match up with LeBron as a teammate? And knowing Michael, he would probably say, oh, I don't want him as my teammate. I'm going to beat him. If you ask him back in the 90s, hey, how do you think you would, how would it work with you and Magic? Oh, I don't want to play with Magic. I want to beat Magic. Like that's the philosophy. That's the mentality of Michael Jordan. Now, I'm not saying that that's LeBron's approach to this. He's asked about, it's a specific question about you being a teammate of Michael's. And instead of, hey, I would fit in, but I would rather go again. If you ask Kobe this, hey, how would you and Mike, fared with each other as teammates? Kobe would say what? Oh, I don't want to be his teammate. I want to beat him. It's just a different mentality there. And I know all this does is it resurfaces the argument of Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Nobody changes their opinion on this. No one ever changes their opinion. And now with this documentary, you're not changing your opinion anytime soon. If LeBron gets 7 titles, he's still not going to be greater than Michael Jordan to people. It's never going to happen. He can be the all-time leading scorer. He can be top 10 in assists. He's not going to be viewed as better than Michael Jordan because he is different. Kobe, you could view him as approaching Michael Jordan, not LeBron. Kobe is closer to Michael. If you want to make those comparisons, then you have an apt comparison. They're the same players. But as Kobe acknowledged, I'm not me without Michael. And LeBron acknowledges that as well, the impact that Michael had on him. But we love the argument. It's a never-ending argument. It's a tiresome argument. And nobody's changing their opinion. LeBron talks about playing football. Wanted to play for the Cowboys. I actually saw him play a high school football game. He wore the number 9. I'll tell you why he wore the number 9. Coming up next hour. 1 hour in the books, 2 more to go. Dan Patrick Show. We stumbled upon something. We started the show. It's one thing to come up with the 50 greatest players of all time. We've come up with the 50. We're trying to come up with the 50 goodest players of all time. So this is based off Al Horford. Now,
okay,
and Paul Millsap, Joe Johnson, Vlade Divac.
But Joe Johnson was an all-star for a few years. Al Horford is an all-star. You could be an all-star, though, right?
You can't make more than 5 all-star teams.
Okay, fair enough.
Like Nick Van Exel's on the goodest players. John Starks is a goodest player. Michael Finley a goodest player.
I would put Eddie Jones, former Laker.
Yeah.
Here's one. How about Ricky Pierce?
Ooh.
Back in the day, Ricky Pierce was a bad boy. Detlef Schrempf.
Yep. You had a roster full of guys.
Yeah.
Like you had Dale Davis, Antonio Davis, Rick Von Smits, Detlef Schrempf, Mark Jackson.
Mark Jackson could be on that list, yes.
Yeah, so it's really hard to come up with the 50 goodest players of all time.
It is. It's very difficult because these guys were on the fringe of being great, but they were paired with superstars that sometimes their talent got overshadowed. But if you took a poll of locker rooms, Mark Jackson, Detlef, Ricky Pierce, Eddie Jones, Nick Van Exel, those guys were the heartbeats of those teams.
Goodest players. Who are some of the other players that we had? McLevin?
We had Sharif Abdur-Rahim.
Sharif Abdur-Rahim.
Rashard Lewis.
Ooh, Rashard Lewis.
Lots of different. Mike Bibby was one.
Is Mike Bibby a goodest player?
Oh, yes. Mike Bibby, Peja on that team. OG Bobby Jackson.
Bobby Jackson. Yeah, Paulie.
A lot of these guys are great, like Jason Terry.
Yeah. Jason Terry, he would be the 6th man. He's not good enough to be a starting 5 on goodest. Now, we did have some controversy here because Paulie mentioned Kevin Johnson, and it feels like he was better than being good. So he was a very gooder, not like he's not.
All the gentlemen that we just mentioned up before Kevin Johnson will probably never be in the Hall of Fame. Kevin Johnson should be in the Hall of Fame, and he's been nominated the last 4 or 5 years. So he's on the fringe of being a Hall of Fame player.
Okay.
The other guys we mentioned will not be in the Hall of Fame. Kevin Johnson, at some point in time, will be in the Hall of Fame, so you can't make him a goodest player.
How about Derek?
If you're going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Derek Coleman?
Yes.
Okay. How about?
But he was really good. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Derek Harper? He's not on the goodest?
Nah. On that team, when he was at his height of that Dallas Maverick teams, what about Mark Aguirre?
We thought Aguirre might be too good because he was really too good early. Like his first 5 years, he's averaging 24, 25 a game. He might be too good.
Okay.
All right.
But he was a great role player on that Pistons team when he was traded to make him a good player along with Joe D, Isaiah, Lambeer, Mahorn.
Yeah. Is Lambeer a goodest?
Yes, goodest. Definitely. He might be the starting center on that goodest.
Well, we were thinking
Absolutely.
Vlade Divac might be our center on the goodest.
That's a good call. I still may go with Lambeer because of the toughness factor too. I think I'll roll with Lambeer. Though Vlade did more.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
The director of The Last Dance, Jason Hare, joins us on the program.
Getting to the bottom of the stories that really matter.
You okay with the pizza story? Now it's food poisoning, not the flu here, Jace?
A lot of people I saw online last night, and people were texting me asking, like, what kind of guy eats an entire pizza in a room full of grown men? Who doesn't grab a slice? So he came back, and he was pissed off because they ate without him. So he spat on the pizza so that nobody else could eat it.
And that is why Jordan's the greatest. LeBron would eat half the pizza and then he'd stop. He'd need a rest day. He'd get to the last slice. Probably wouldn't even want to eat it. He'd be like, here, you take the last slice.
Soft.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
Jordan would have never done this.
This is Dan Patrick.
Hour 2 on this Tuesday, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Now that The Last Dance is over, everybody's wondering what's the next great sports documentary. Saw one on Bruce Lee that's coming up on the mothership. Lance Armstrong, that one's coming up. I don't know. Is there another one with Michael Jordan and the Bulls? The Wizards years? I'm up for that as well. You know, Tiger Woods, maybe the New England Patriots, maybe LeBron James, maybe the Golden State Warriors. How about a college team? How about the UConn women's basketball team? Alabama football? But you need characters. You know, Jordan was a character. I mean, he was this tour de force, but there was a lot attached to him. And the way players reacted, fans reacted, teammates reacted. You know, Dennis Rodman, you throw him in there, Phil Jackson in there, Jerry Krause in there. Any great story, if you watch a show on Netflix, you're going to have a lot of different characters. You're going to have the main character, you have the side stories. And then the side stories are interwoven with the star. I mean, Better Call Saul, I'm watching that now. The side stories and how they intersect with Better Call Saul. Breaking Bad, the same thing. You had stories on the periphery, but they would eventually get to Walter White. That's what you have with a documentary. You got Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan and Jerry Krause. Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman. Phil Jackson's in here. There were so many different pieces. Isaiah Thomas is in this. That's what you need with a great documentary. The Patriots don't have that. You know, it's a dynasty, but you don't have anything there. San Antonio Spurs, you don't have any drama there. You need tension. You need drama. You don't have that. UConn women, I think Gino Auriemma, in the way he coached, he had some personalities there. It might be a niche documentary, but you might have something there. You know, it started with Rebecca Lobo, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Maya Moore. Like, you had some really great players, but did you have tension? Did you have drama? It felt like you had drama when they started to lose. When you lose to Mississippi State or lose to Notre Dame or you lose to Baylor, that's when you get something interesting here. Golden State Warriors, that last year, absolutely. If you were looking for something that would be close to The Last Dance, that would have been really interesting. Draymond and Durant. Draymond reaches out to Durant reportedly after they lose the previous year. We need you. Or it was 2 years prior. We need you. And you recruit him. The Hamptons 5. You recruit him. You get him there. You win. You're great. And then all of a sudden it starts to fall apart. And then Draymond and Durant go at one another. You know, Steph Curry's role. How do they feel about Durant? Then you had Klay Thompson getting injured, Durant getting injured, and then it falls apart. That would be interesting there. Alabama football, you're not going to get anything out of Nick Saban. Would he allow his players, would his players feel like, former players, that they could talk about him? And the answer is no. Even former players. They're cautious in, you know, they measure their words when they talk about Nick Saban. But I don't know if we're going to have anything like The Last Dance. Not anytime soon. You know, Lance Armstrong's story's been told. Bruce Lee is going to have a whole new audience there. And, you know, there were probably some stories that we haven't heard about Bruce Lee. But it feels like with Lance Armstrong, unless this is about Lance today and what has happened since his fall from grace. All right. I'll watch it. Bruce Lee, I'll watch. I was always fascinated with Bruce Lee. I was fascinated because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar loved Bruce Lee. And I think he was trying to understand what Bruce Lee did. And, sort of that magic of, him at that size and how brilliant he was at his craft. But I'll watch that one as well. I just don't know if we're going to have a documentary that's going to be anywhere near what we saw. O.J. Simpson, I don't know if we'll ever have something like, I hope we don't have something like that. But how that was told and the fact that you had the Bronco chase, and there was so much involved in it. So many people and his legal team and everything that happened with that and the ramifications of that, the outrage after that. I don't know if you're going to be able to have any kind of emotion from a documentary that would come anywhere near that. And then with the Jordan documentary, I can't imagine that LeBron could put out a documentary unless it was when he went back to Cleveland and they won the title that year. But even then, what kind of drama do I have? Tension. Maybe you could say that he didn't like his coaches or he didn't like the owner. Okay. That's not enough. The owner was a big problem there for LeBron. I just don't know if you're going to get that. Like, was LeBron making fun of him the way Michael Jordan was Jerry Krause? Maybe. And if you have that, great. But I can't imagine that if you're looking at Golden State would have worked for me because of Durant and Draymond. Patriots, nobody's going to talk. Yes, Todd.
Not only do you need the story and the characters, you also need the access. We hear about how Jordan let them in on all that for a full year, and they got all kinds of stuff. Without that kind of access, I don't know what access in LeBron's career was allowed over these past few years. You've got to have that, or I don't care how great the story is if you're not getting really up and close to what's being said behind closed doors or in a huddle.
Yeah, McLovin.
I think The Decision would be a great documentary. I think that you might be a little too close to it, but in 20 years to young fans, everything that led up to that and everything that happened afterwards, Taking My Talent to South Beach, will make an amazing documentary.
I think
the details.
Yeah, I think behind the scenes leading up to that night when LeBron sat down with Jim Gray, because of the speculation of he was doing it in Greenwich, Connecticut. And people thought, well, the location of this means he's going to the New York Knicks. And I remember it was almost minute by minute that people had a different opinion of where LeBron James was going. They had it all figured out. And then I remember Stephen A. Smith said, he's going to Miami. And people went, what? He said, I'm hearing that he's going to Miami. Now, he didn't say I'm reporting it. He goes, I'm hearing. And he heard correctly. But that might be interesting leading up to it. I'm trying to think, you have to have the video there. And it feels like anybody who's going to do a behind-the-scenes documentary is going to do it the way we do reality TV now. And it's not really real. The Real Housewives of New Jersey or New York City or Orange County or whatever, it's not real. They stage it. They tell you, hey, we're going to shoot this. You're going to be angry at her. You're going to throw something. You're going to do this. You hate her. She hates you. And then, ready? Let's go. That's not reality TV. The great TV is when you forget the cameras are rolling. And you got that feeling in The Last Dance that Jordan was just he knew that this was being filmed, but he also knew this may never see the light of day. And I think that's the difference there. When you get them to forget the camera is there is when you get real. I just sound like Dr. Phil. You get real. Yes, Paul.
If you could do a Tiger Woods documentary where it goes back to his last major, I think it was 2008, when everything went haywire, and it focused on that point of time where, was it Chris DeMarco he was going against and Rocco mediating those guys? And he had a couple great battles with a knee injury. And then he had the Thanksgiving night and all the different things.
He would never allow you.
Correct. Now he wouldn't. But I wonder if years down the road or some way, and again, we're not going to have video and audio of those things that went on, but that would be one that I think people would tune into.
Oh, I would, but he's so closed off. He's more open now than he ever was, and he's still closed off. Back then, the stories that were circulating about Tiger, would he talk about that Thanksgiving night? Would he talk about the car accident? Would he talk about that's what you would want, but you're not going to get that with Tiger. If there was a film crew with the surgery and the rehab and all of that and the comeback, and there's a lot there with Tiger Woods. When he's taking pills and he's pulled over by the police, he's asleep behind the wheel. We forget about all of these things with Tiger because we now look at Tiger and go, yeah, he made it through to the other side. Back then, we weren't quite sure if he'd ever play again, let alone win. And that seems like it was such a long time ago that happened, and it's not. Yeah, Paul.
It would be fascinating from a structure standpoint if you focused on 3 different wins from Tiger Woods, his first Masters, his first major in 97, then the 2008 U.S. Open in the playoff against Mediate, and then the 2019 Masters. Use those as the 3 focal points, and then do the backstory of everything else that happened around it in between those things. And even that'd be easy to do.
Well,
not easy to do, easy to structure.
Yes,
hard to get access.
Yes, because you have to have Tiger going, oh, hey, let me sit down and talk about that Thanksgiving night when I was caught texting somebody else. Yeah, that ain't happening. Jordan at least addressed the gambling rumors. He addressed and talked about his father's murder. He talked about, the food poisoning. These are the story, the baseball career, why he left. He at least touched on those. Now, did he go as deep as we wanted? Probably not. But, to his credit, he had to answer these if you're going to do a documentary. Tiger's not going to answer those. He's just not. Fritzy, call for Tiger and see if he'll join us to talk about this.
The case.
Do you remember when we had a producer at the mothership?
Oh, here we go.
When he came in that day when we were doing our rundown for our show? And I'm thinking that they had sort of a management spy that was just keeping an eye on our show. And he would come in and just monitor what was being said. And he didn't really offer much. And he was a nice guy. But he said, we were talking about Tiger Woods. And he goes, would you guys have Tiger Woods on? And we all stopped. It's one of those where the meeting goes, what? Would you have Tiger Woods on? And I went, oh, my God. Just sit here and just monitor, eavesdrop on our meeting. Don't offer up anything. Yeah, Paul.
In the same vein, we had a show once where Fritzy just crushed it. I think we had Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods on the same show. I'm not kidding. And on the same show, those were our 2 guests. And I sent out a show recap note to all the people in management at the mothership. And 99% of them were cool. But this one guy sent a note back and corrected something I spelled wrong in my show recap note. Instead of saying, hey, good job by you and the team getting Fritzy, getting Tiger Woods and Peyton Manning on the same show. And I remember looking at it, and I almost went crazy. And I just said, I got to go take a walk.
I think he used purple for one of the names when they preferred green for the colors.
No, Paulie got in trouble because his show notes weren't professional. They were just show notes.
Yeah, the show was good. The show notes weren't.
Yeah, the show was professional. The show notes weren't. Like the recap for management to read, and Paulie got in trouble there.
We're all worked out.
Got in trouble. Yes. Adrian Wojnarowski was on in the first hour. And whenever I have Woj on, Woj doesn't talk in speculation, hypotheticals. Woj deals with details. And he's got information. And that's why when I ask him about what kind of scenario do you see with this NBA season, and are we playing and where are we playing basketball games when and if the NBA comes back, here's Adrian Wojnarowski. Now, when you're talking about site or sites, are we talking about Vegas, Orlando? Are those the 2 sites that are in conversations?
That's right, Dan. And Orlando has had a lot of traction. And I think the question is going to be, are they going to put all the teams in one place? Or are they going to perhaps have teams moving among 2 sites based on an Eastern Western Conference scenario? But the one thing Adam Silver has told the players and told the owners, what he doesn't want are teams flying around. You're not going to see what baseball's proposing, which is teams moving around, playing in home stadiums. The NBA's focused on a 1 site, no fans. And then they're going to deal with trying to get back into arenas again, buildings again for the start of next season.
Okay. Now let's unpack that. He's saying that Orlando sounds like it's going to be the center of this. You got Disney headquarters, and you're going to be able to get all your teams down there. Are you going to get all the teams, including the teams that are on the outside of the playoffs looking in? Or is that going to be, we're just going to start the playoffs there? What I think could happen, and Woj alluded to this, you might have Vegas for the West Coast teams and Orlando for the East Coast teams. And the NBA hasn't been talking about anything, which I think is a positive sign. And Woj agreed with me. We haven't heard anything. There's no leaks. Like Major League Baseball, somebody leaks this to the media. Anything they talk about, what they had for lunch gets leaked to the media. NBA, Woj said the commissioner is not even sharing this with the owners right now because you don't want this to get out. You don't want to create this speculation period again that we've already had. Because remember, he was talking about May 1st, and then it was May 8th, and I said, you can't do that. Because this is changing daily. California, their governor just said we're basically open for business with sports. A week ago, we were going to extend this for 3 months, the stay at home. It's happening in real time, and the commissioner of the NBA is doing the right thing. Don't say anything. Get your plan. You got one shot to make it work, and work on that. And you have the infrastructure there to make it work in Orlando and or Vegas, then maybe you have an NBA season. Maybe. You have maybe 5 games regular season. It takes 2 weeks for them to get ready, and then it'll be 5 games regular season, and then that allows you to go into the postseason. A couple of phone calls here. We'll take a break. We'll explore what baseball's doing, trying to do, and is it really possible? Adam in West Virginia. Hi, Adam. What do you have for me?
Hey, DP. How you doing?
Hi, bud.
Hey, 5'10", very soft, 230, corona body here. Been stuck at home for a couple of weeks, 2.5-year-old pregnant wife. It's been interesting. But I got a suggestion for you on the next documentary.
Okay.
Phil Jackson years with the Lakers.
That could be entertaining. Absolutely. And good luck there, Adam, with the 2.5-year-old and mom being pregnant there. You don't have Kobe. Now, if you have some things that you could, I don't know how that works. If you're going to do a documentary, and if Phil and Shaq are going to say things, you got players that played with the team. It could be interesting. I don't know how delicate that is to do a documentary and Kobe's not alive to talk about it. And I also have some football teams that I do think would make for a great documentary. I'll bring that to your attention coming up. More phone calls, 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Sean Casey, baseball analyst for MLB, will join us coming up. Mike Florio, next hour. You have some NFL facilities opening up. Is it fair to the other NFL teams that can't? We'll talk to Florio about that. It's 18 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. Discover is asking a simple question. When is the last time you checked your credit? And I have to admit, there were years I had no idea how to check my credit. I didn't know what my credit was. And then all of a sudden I found out my credit and I went, uh-oh, is that a good number? And I was told, you probably need to bring it up a little bit here. Discover makes it quick and easy to check your credit, even if you're not a customer. Your FICO credit score, used by 90% of top lenders, you get it for free even if you're not a customer. The Discover Credit Scorecard is free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. Do you miss on field or off the field?
Oh, off the field, for sure. On the field was fun. Don't get me wrong. I love playing football. But off the field, man, we had a blast. We had, I think, the best locker room of all time. We did so much stupid stuff in there. The games we played, the stupid stuff we made up just to pass the time in between meetings. And we had a bunch of good characters in that locker room.
Give me an idea of some stupid stuff. Now that you're a Hall of Famer, you're allowed to say this.
Yeah, okay. Well,
okay.
We played tape. We would make a tape ball and play baseball. I would strike Lance out like 40 times a week. We played dodgeball Saturday mornings, offense versus defense. We go through our walkthrough, and then we go just tear up I feel so bad for our equipment guys because we just tore the locker room to shreds. We would put the laundry baskets in the middle for the line you couldn't cross. Play dodgeball for half an hour. We had this stupid game where we'd get a dodgeball and we'd shoot it across the locker room. You had to hit the exact part of the rail across the room to earn a point. There may have been some gambling done at that. I'm not sure. Another game where we throw the ball into the trash can from 30 feet away. Possible wagers made on that as well. Just stupid games. Just soccer game. We broke every light in the locker room. Just good times, man. You got to pass the time somehow.
Did Cutler, was he part of dodgeball?
Oh, yeah, he hit me in the chest one day hard. I was a smart guy and took my shirt off because it was hot. And I think there was like 3 or 4 of us left on each side, and Jay just drilled me right in the chest. I had a big circle on my chest the rest of the day.
Have you
I
seen
didn't catch it either. It bounced off of me.
Have you seen Very Cavallari? Have you seen Cutler's reality show?
I have not seen it, no.
Oh,
Am I
my
missing
God,
good
Brian.
stuff?
I don't know what you dealt with Cutler, but I have greater appreciation for how he is. He doesn't give a damn. He doesn't want to do anything. Oh, my God. I feel bad for his wife because he just wants to drink beer.
Really? Oof. I don't see him as a beer drinker. I mean, if you can get away with it at home, good for you. You know?
Oh, it's
that's
so.
a good thing. If you can do nothing at home, that's a win right there.
He'll watch videos of like a deer blind, like you could do a live look in on YouTube. He just sits around and doesn't do anything. I mean, it's fascinating. Fascinating.
Does he work out or anything, or does he just sit around all day?
It doesn't look like he's working out.
Yeah, maybe I'll zoom in one of these days and try. I mean, I watch a lot of stupid shows on TV, but I'm not saying that his show is stupid, but I haven't caught that one yet.
Talk to UCLA head coach Chip Kelly tomorrow. Colts head coach Frank Reich will join us on the program as well. This program brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. The all-new GT four-door coupe. Life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you missed any interviews from the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave, Go to the DP Show app. Watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG, driving performance. By the way, I teased this last hour, and of course, with my limited memory, I forgot that I teased this. LeBron James played high school football. I don't think he played his senior year, but his junior year, and he was All-State, of course, as a wide receiver. He wore number 9. Anybody want to guess why LeBron James wore number 9 when he played football? I'll give you 1,000 guesses. Yes, Paulie?
Is it something Cincinnati Bengals related?
No.
Oh.
It's college football related. I'll even give you the conference, ACC.
Number 9 was a player in the ACC that he liked?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Okay, I'm going to give you the school. I think you might get it. Florida State.
Peter Warwick?
Yes.
Wow. That's niche. That is niche. I mean, Peter Warwick was a heck of a player.
Yeah, he was. And LeBron loved Peter Warwick, and he wore number 9 because of him when he played high school football there. Speaking of Ohio, this guy raked in Ohio. He's Sean Casey, former Major League Baseball All-Star, MLB Network analyst, 3-time All-Star, wearing a Smedium here. He's a member of the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. What are you doing with the T-shirt there?
Wait a minute. I'm just so jacked, Dan. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's an XL. What does it look like, a medium here?
It does. Give me a double gun. Give me both
you
barrels.
Want a double gun?
Both barrels.
Double barrel,
Whoa.
baby. I gotta get these things licensed. Smith & Wesson.
Have you been tested any lately, Sean?
Well, you know what, Dan? I thought I'd get in shape after I was done.
You are still as slow as you were when you played, right?
No, I'm slower than I was and in better shape. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
All right. Help me understand Major League Baseball. It feels like anything that's said at the home office is leaked to the media here. There's no secrets here with Major League Baseball. So what do you think is the best case scenario here for Major League Baseball?
Wow, you're right. I don't think there are any secrets. Seems like there's no secrets anymore in life. You know what I mean? But I think the best case scenario is hopefully, baseball, that they find a way to maybe get some games this year. I just feel like it would be great for everybody. But I do understand both sides, Dan, obviously coming from the player's point of view. But I do know Rob Manfred is one of the smartest guys out there. Tony Bettini, who's right next to him. Those guys that are running baseball are so smart. They'll leave no stone unturned. Tony Clark over there with the lawyers that they have with the union, with the players, trying to figure this out. I do know that, they will try and come to a conclusion that's good for everybody. That's good for the fans of baseball. That's good for the players and the owners. And we're just in uncharted territory. So some of the things that maybe, flew in the past, maybe won't now. And it just some of the things that the players have to do too, to be able to go and play. I think they definitely need to be evaluated, but I think that both sides will figure it out, hopefully.
Would you play baseball if you were still on a roster?
You're asking me personally?
Yeah.
Yes, I would.
I'm just trying to understand, the risk with this, obviously the rewards, and then you hear Blake Snell of the Rays saying, it's not enough money for me to come back and play. Can you see the haves and the have-nots that, are big ticket item guys not going to come back? Or, the guys who have less money and as much to, like the league minimum. Like,
yeah.
Can you see where one or the other is going to say it's not worth me coming back?
I can see, both points of view there. I think one thing with, when you think about Mike Trout talking about he's about to have a kid and what if he's quarantined and those kind of things. Those are real things. And obviously Dan, over the years with the money back and forth. I mean, obviously both sides are going to fight for their rights, that's what it should be, and I think that's fair. But I do think player safety and stuff like that with families and all that definitely comes into account. But I think the teams will get together and figure out, what's best for each team. But I do understand the point of view of of guys that safety for their families and stuff, because I no one knows, just no one knows. But I do think what they say, there's going to be 10,000 tests a week, and that each player, and if you do get it, you will be quarantined. And so I don't know, they're trying to do the best they can with what they have.
Yeah, but they're talking about you're not allowed to spit. And what happens, you're a first baseman. Are you holding somebody on first base, and then you can't have social distancing at first base, Sean?
Well, that's crazy. I was just talking to somebody this morning about that, and it reminded me of the story. I think I might have even told it on your show at one point when, social distancing. So what happens? Does the guy get his 4 foot, 5 foot lead off, and then are you allowed to pick over? And I still remember. I remember I was social distancing with Henry Rodriguez my first year in the big leagues when, back in the day when, O. Henry, when he would homer in Montreal, they'd throw those O. Henry bars in the field. And I remember him getting off first, and I was like my second week in the big leagues. I'm all excited, and we're social distancing. He's about 6 feet away, and I said to him, "Hey, Henry, I really love it when they throw those O. Henry bars onto the field." And he turned to me and said, "Hey, thanks a lot, man." And right when he turned, Ron Vallone stepped over, poof, picked over. I caught it, and I said, "Oh man, my bad, dude." I had no idea. I had no idea he was going to pick over. I thought we were just social distancing 22 years early.
It's just there's a lot of questions when they say you can't spit. I don't. Can guys do that?
I don't know. Have you ever been into a big league dugout after the game? When you look down, it looks like a murder scene. You're like, what happened here? There's dip spit, there's sunflower seed spit, there's freaking spit everywhere. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we need DNA tests to see what just happened here. So I can't imagine big leaguers could go a whole game not spit.
Imagine when they say you can't adjust yourself either. I mean,
there's so much to unpack here, but that's going to be a tough one.
You adjust yourself twice already during this interview here.
Exactly. I'm adjusting my shirt. You got me. You're in my head about the medium comment. I'm an absolute mess right now.
You got a picture behind you. Is that Doc Gooden and Strawberry?
Oh, yeah.
And is Mike Tyson?
Oh yeah, Mike Tyson, Strawberry, and Gooden. How about that? And then I got Jim Leland and my son this year at the World Series. But that Tyson, Gooden, and Strawberry one, that's a classic.
Wait, how did you get that?
I was at the Bat Awards baseball assistant team in New York a couple years ago, and this is an unbelievable story, Dan. We were, I go to the Bat Awards. I was in town for the network, and it turns out there was like the snow. I can't remember what it was, 5-6 years ago. There was that humongous snowstorm that hit New York, and no one came to the Bat Awards but me and like a couple other people. And they had all these unbelievable items, and I just start bidding on everything. And that was one of them. And then the other one was this one. How about this one right here?
Okay.
This one right here is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Wait, can you see it? Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe, and 2 signed checks from them. And I got that there too. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that bat event because I got some unbelievable items. But Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe signed checks are in my house too.
Is that the best memorabilia you have?
I think that the Joe DiMaggio Marilyn Monroe thing might be the best. And I remember there was 3 guys at the event, and they were all hovered around bidding on it. I was like, I'm getting this thing. I am getting this. I am getting Joe DiMaggio Marilyn Monroe in my house.
Great to talk to you. You must be driving the wife crazy. All your energy.
I'm driving everybody crazy. My 14-year-old daughter, I don't know if you have any, my teenage daughter's like, all right, you're one of the most annoying human beings alive. Please stop talking to me.
I have 3 daughters, and they're in their 20s. I've been there where you're the dumbest guy on the planet.
I'm so dumb. It's unbelievable. I'll go and talk to her. She's like, oh my gosh, you're so dumb. She plays guitar, Dan. So I've been having my guitar out, like, just ripping a couple tunes. And I'm like, hey, let's play a little Every Rose Has Its Thorn and sing along. She's like, oh, you're such a loser.
Let me hear a little bit.
Oh, you want to hear? All right. This is the only song I really know.
This is Sean Casey, former baseball all-star.
I've never played nationally, but I'm terrible.
MLB Network analyst.
Wait.
Okay.
See? Well, here we go. Here you go, Dan. I changed the chord. Every rose has its thorn. I don't know. I do the best I can. I do the best I can, bro. It's just, that's why my daughter thinks I stink right there, because that's all I got. All I got's that.
Oh, it's great to talk to you. All right. We'll get some baseball here one of these days. Thank you, Sean. Great to check in with you.
All right, Dan. Great talking to you, bro. See you.
And he would leave in a full sweat, a full lather. Always had stories. Great sense of humor. That he was known as the mayor. I mean, the players loved Sean Casey. Great teammate there. A couple of phone calls here. Craig in Pittsburgh joins us. Hey, Craig, what do you have for me today?
Hey, I was just calling with another idea for a sports documentary like The Last Dance. I'd love to see one highlighting the MLB cocaine scandal of the 80s that stemmed out of Pittsburgh.
I think it would be interesting, but you have to get people to talk, Craig, and thanks for the phone call. You have to get the principals to talk about this, and I don't know how many of former players are going to be willing to talk about that, because let's say you were involved in that. You want that. You want to move on from that. You don't want that to be attached to your name. And there were some marquee players who were involved in that, and most of those players have moved on without people bringing that up when you mention their names. Here's a couple of football ones. I saw this on CBS Sports. The Cowboys of the 90s would be awesome. You got Jimmy and you got Jerry. You got Michael Irvin. When Deion came to town, Emmett, that to me would be awesome. Just to have that Jimmy-Jerry friction that was going on there and who was getting the credit. I remember Skip Bayless wrote a book about the Cowboys back in the 90s. And then Barry Switzer comes in. And then Barry Switzer wins the title with Jimmy Johnson's players. They mentioned the Patriots, modern-day Patriots. I don't know what you were going to get there. Maybe the Brady-Garoppolo dynamic, but I can't see much there. I think we look at great teams and then you go, boy, it'd be great if they did a documentary. The San Antonio Spurs would not be a great documentary. Great team. Dynasty, not a great documentary. Steelers of the 70s, absolutely. You got Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw and the friction between those two. You had Mean Joe Green, who came in and single-handedly was turning around a franchise. You had Chuck Noll there, but Mean Joe Green came in and you had the best defensive player in football. And you had an attitude, a persona. When you look back on the history of the NFL, I don't think that you can overstate Mean Joe Green's importance to the game. He nearly quit. He was walking out. He was just tired of losing with the Steelers. And he stayed. Obviously, they eventually got great draft picks that paid off for them and became this dynasty. And I think that was the best defense I ever saw. The Raiders would always be entertaining. You got Al Davis against the league. That would be great. But if I had the Snake Stabler, Ted Hendricks, Jack Tatum, Howie Long, Matt Millen, John Matuzak, Gene Upsaw, Lester Hayes, Cliff Branch, Mike Haynes, Fred Biletnikoff, I'm good with that. That's a good place to start. They won a Super Bowl as a wild card team, first team to do that. The Niners in the 80s, I guess it would be interesting when Steve Young came there. You had Montana and Clark, Freddie Solomon, Roger Craig. I don't know if you had real characters there. You bring in Jerry Rice. I would love to know if you were able to see Bill Walsh in action behind the scenes in what his genius was, in how he was designing the West Coast offense. But, George Seifert came in, and he was not exciting. In Montana, maybe we would get a better indication of Joe as a quarterback. I mean, he's low-key. He's chill. The Packers of the 60s, it feels like we've done that. I think NFL Films has done things on the Packers of the 60s with Lombardi and all of those Hall of Fame players. Paul Hornung getting suspended for gambling. That would be interesting. Jimmy in Chicago. Hey, Jimmy, welcome back. What do you have for me?
Hey, Dan. Good morning.
Good morning.
Just wanted to ask you, what one of the which of the major sports are you looking forward to getting back to starting again? For me, it's the NBA to finish the season. And I've played fantasy basketball since like 2003, and I've lost every year. And I want to finish that season and hopefully win for the first time. And then I also wanted to ask you, what experience are you looking forward to getting back to? As far as like for me, it's going to the movie theater. Like I miss that the most. And for your last guest, your last show, you got to have Jordan. Thanks.
All right. Well, we'll work on that. Todd, I just signed a 5-year contract to continue to do this, so you've got about 4 years and 9 months.
Seems like a reasonable period of time.
I mean, that
for one guest,
right? I mean, that's as much leeway that for a guest as I've ever given you. You got
no doubt.
You got 4.5 years to come up with
no
Michael
excuses.
Jordan. Nope,
no
not
excuses.
at all. If you don't come up with him, then you're fired.
Oh, I didn't know about that little addendum you just added, but we're going to
Well,
go
no,
for it.
the show would be over, Todd. It wouldn't matter.
Oh, there you go.
You could stay with
I was
me.
a little slow on that one.
Yeah, you would be
I
fired.
was already obsessing about trying to come through and figure out how
God.
we're going to get
now
Jordan.
I ruined you.
I'm
I
a
love when
mess.
you would always go, "Oh, you ruined my weekend." You know, when you bring up things, and then I would think about that all weekend long.
And it's a holiday weekend coming up, so I now have a 3-day ruined weekend trying to figure out how I'm going to get Jordan to come on.
Wait, I thought we were working on Monday.
Oh, I wasn't. Am I speaking out of school? I don't know.
I don't know. Paulie and I were planning on coming in on Monday.
Wow.
I don't know about the rest of you guys. McLovin, what are you doing on Monday?
Monday, nothing.
Oh.
Because I would have barbecues, but this is news to me. Wait, what? Are you guys messing with Todd? Don't lump me into the Todd camp.
Todd. LeBron James talks about using football training to get ready for an NBA season. We'll hear from LeBron when we return here on the Dan Patrick Show.
So, Dan, last night I was sitting there with my daughters. We were watching our favorite show, Maine Cabin Masters. You know, they're very handy. They're very good at carpentry. I am not so much so. My daughter, at the end of the show, turns to me and says, Dad, would you teach me how to do some of that stuff? And I kind of pause because I'm very aware that I'm not good with hammers and nails and drills and so forth. I'm not the worst. There's got to be somebody worse than me. Has to be on earth. But I'm not that good. I had a thought, guys. For guys like us who maybe aren't that handy, you know, some more than others, there should be like an adult man camp to learn these skills you maybe didn't learn from your father or an uncle or whatever when you were a kid. Are there any of those around there? Would you guys sign up? Or is it too late? Should I just pack it in, Dan?
Well, if you asked me like 6 weeks ago, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be more than happy to do like a getaway camp.
Man camp.
Yeah, where I'm learning woodworking skills.
Yeah, woodworking, maybe some plumbing, a little bit of electrical work, maybe a little bit of light car work. Seton, you're getting there. You're pretty good with a little woodworking. You'd go to a camp like that, wouldn't you?
I would, but not if it's called Adult Man Camp.
It's the title.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely go take some classes somewhere at like a local shop or something. I'm all about that. Or I'd go away for a week and do that, but not like, all right, honey, see you later. I'll be back from Adult Man Camp.
What about carpentry for dummies? Is that any better?
How about getting handsy the camp? No, does that help it? Is that not any better?
That sounds creepy.
Yeah, it does sound creepy.
Yeah. I would sign up for something like that.
There's got to be one around there. Maybe like the Maine Cabin Masters guys, maybe they could host one, or like Traeger, our friends at Traeger, they do barbecue camps, and people who aren't experts learn from Chad and them. We need like a camp where you learn how to.
Is there an age where it's too late to learn those kind of things? Like they say, you can pick up
yours was
a language.
8. Yours was 8.
But you can pick up a language or an instrument. They say like when you're a kid or when you're a lot younger, your brain works a certain way where you just pick things up a lot faster. I think once you're like hitting in the 50 ballpark, I don't think there's anything I can do.
So we just give up?
Yes. Wow. We hopefully we can afford to call the guy or the lady that can come fix things.
It is the best money I spend is to watch somebody do something that I know they'll do better than me. Absolutely.
Andrew, what do you think? I know you're Brooklyn. You're not doing a lot of home projects. Are you in on this?
Oh my God. I don't understand. All right, this is I'm gonna get real here. What is you guys' insecurity that you're not manly enough to do stuff around the house? I always find like guys who are like obsessed with I gotta get better at stuff around the house. I don't know. Is it apartment dweller? It just doesn't resonate with me.
It doesn't bother you. it doesn't bother when someone comes over. It doesn't have to be like a young, strapping, handsome 23-year-old, and he's like doing things that you feel deep down you should be able to handle yourself. Not just about saving the money by doing it yourself, but like this guy comes in and he's doing things and you can't even relate to.
But that's beside you watch these movies where that scenario unfolds in a certain direction.
Well, they're usually delivering a pizza or something, or they're installing cable. But I guess that happens too with some basic carpentry work.
Honestly, my opinion is as long as you can fix the toilet, you're fine.
Some of us can't do that.
Yeah, but that's the where the rubber meets the road.
When are you ready, Alan? Okay.
Thank you for the gift.
No, this isn't for you.
Oh.
This is, well, you're going to share in this.
Oh.
This is the latest delivery from Flannery Beef. Now, this is how it comes. Look at that. So it's got it all pretty. Now, we're going to have a taste test today. This is 21 day.
I'm in.
This is wet aged. I don't know what that means, but it really sounds good. And then I thought, well, maybe I could get 28 days. I'm going to do a taste test. We're going to do this right after the show. So I have 21 and 28. This is wet. This is dry aged. We're going to learn some things today.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay. All right. Just want to let you know that that's coming up. Then there's this is for other days.
More treats?
That's 75
I was going to say, it looks different. It's darker.
Yeah, that's 75 days. What else do we have in here? That is 21. This is 28. That's 75.
Yeah. Like those steakhouses in New York.
I really miss the Danettes not being in here to share in this.
So I got to stay late today.
Yeah, we're going to have some steak.
All right.
We got to do some homework. Oh, this is a tough job here. This is our friends from Flannery Beef. I'm going to have to put this under lock and key. LeBron James was on WRTS After Party Podcast. I apologize if I don't know what those initials stand for. Does anybody know what WRTS is? McLevin, you have any idea of this podcast here?
No, I'll look it up right now. I'm
Okay.
not sure exactly.
Yeah, I just want to be fair to LeBron here and company. LeBron was asked about playing football. Now, he played football in high school. And he had this to say about the 2011 lockout.
Recently, Coach Doc Rivers said that he believes you could have been potentially the best football player to ever play the game. Was football ever even a thought for you during that year?
You know what, to be honest, PR, it actually was. Wow. I had no idea how long the lockout was going to be. And myself and my trainer, Mike Mancias, we really started to actually train to be a football player. You know, never having the ability to finish my high school career of playing like my senior year, I have dreams all the time about playing football.
Did you get the call from Bron saying, hey, I might want to do this?
I did not, but I know he got a contract from Jerry Jones that he framed and put in his office.
Now, that's Maverick Carter, who is LeBron's business partner. Paul Rivera was the host there asking the question. But LeBron training to play football. And when he played in Canton, Akron, he played high school football there. And he was same size height-wise. Now, he wasn't weighing, 270 pounds. But still, he was this great athlete. And, living in Cincinnati, it's 3 hours away, but you heard about LeBron James. Everybody knew about LeBron James. And the first I heard was that he was a great football player and All-State. What is it? We Run This Station Uninterrupted is the name of the podcast.
The Uninterrupted, the site that I think is associated with LeBron. I think that's his sports website. So it's a podcast with that outlet.
Oh, okay. All right. Just want to make sure I gave them credit there. But he was preparing to play football. And, I've asked this question before with football players when I say who would have been a good football player who plays basketball. Because I said, would Shaq be a good football player? And it's almost unanimous where people say, no, he wouldn't be. Because your height is a disadvantage when you're that big. And if Shaq's playing nose tackle, now I'd love to see Shaq play nose tackle. I'd just love to see him in a uniform. If you could get pads and a helmet to fit him, that to me would be awesome. But if I put LeBron at tight end, that wouldn't be fair. Now, I know Michael would have been a better football player. Yeah, I know. Probably so. He's better than LeBron at everything. What kind of football player do you think LeBron would be? What do you think Michael would be? I have no idea. But two sport athletes. Would LeBron be better at, would he be good enough at football that Bo Jackson Bo didn't play long enough. But Bo was playing baseball and football at the same time and at Auburn. And Bo was a good baseball player. He had great power. He didn't have good average, but he had great athleticism. And, obviously a great running back. And Deion was a great defensive back, but he was a better than average baseball player. He had some talent there. But LeBron, if LeBron played football, is LeBron going to be a star? Probably so. If he just concentrated to play football, probably so. I remember, I think I asked Michael Vick this. I said, how would Allen Iverson have been? And he said he would have been great because I think Iverson was considered a better football player than basketball player when he was coming up Virginia Beach. And Iverson was a wonderful quarterback. Now, you look at him, he's slight, but, he would have been maybe Michael Vick-like. Yeah, Paul.
Deion Sanders, he was a part-time baseball player for 9 different seasons. He had a stretch, though, when he turned about 24 years old. He hit 304, 276, 283, 288, 277. Yeah. He was an above-average baseball player as a part-time player.
I always thought Brian Jordan never got enough credit because he played football, and he was a good baseball player as well for the Atlanta Braves. I think St. Louis Cardinals as well. But, we look at these two sport athletes, and it always feels like Jim Thorpe was different. Jackie Robinson, to me, is the greatest athlete ever because he was not a two-sport star. He could have been a four-sport star with basketball, baseball, football, and track and field. He did all of those when he was in college. But, Deion with what he was doing, where he'd take the helicopter over to the Braves game. Man, that was crazy times back then. Crazy. Let me see a couple of phone calls in here. Nate in Texas. Hi, Nate. What do you have for me?
Hey, Dan, 5'9", 175.
All right.
I would love to see a documentary of the Cowboys of the 90s. Like you were saying, you could start it with the firing of Tom Landry, then bringing in Jimmy, and then the Herschel Walker trade. You have that as well. I mean, I would be fascinated by that. Love the show.
Thank you, Nate. And once again, I don't know if people have done this. I'm just speaking off the top of my head of documentaries that might be interesting. Anthony in California. Hi, Ant.
Morning, Dan.
Good morning.
So, 5'7", 155. And I think a good football documentary would be the year the Raiders traded John Gruden to Tampa Bay.
And then he comes back and haunts them in the Super Bowl. Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, I think there are a lot of different ideas. It's, can you get the principals to talk about this? That's the key. Because when you get that access, that's when you get the magic. If it's somebody else talking about it, it's different. It doesn't feel as real. Mike Florio is going to join us on loan from Pro Football Talk. More phone calls coming up as well. 2 hours in the books. One more to go here on the Dan Patrick Show.
Dan, there are a ton of issues back here, and I can understand some things. I've learned a lot in the past 20 seconds. Fritzy's headphones are so low you could barely hear the show. I can see you in no way. I could see your right shoulder a little bit, and I just saw your chin.
There's a camera that's totally like blocking the view.
Have you ever brought it up?
I have brought it up, but I came to the realization that I think Dan prefers it that way, that he doesn't see me directly, that I have to lean to the left significantly to make eye contact.
Do you realize how many hours I spent trying to position that camera?
It does not shock me.
So it would prevent our sightline.
The only plus part of it, I know human resources is listening, I guess, but if there's some things that I want to look at that has nothing to do with the show, at least I have that kind of privacy.
Now, you have intimacy back there. You have your privacy. Paulie,
I will say,
do you see what Paulie's doing right now? That's what you do.
It's very annoying.
Yes,
It'd be very distracting.
Yeah, yes, Paulie.
Dan, never mind. I'm good. You're good.
And for a 3-hour period every day.
Yeah, you're just raising your hand up and down, up and down.
I would be very distracted by that. But I will say this for McLovin to make him feel better. There are many studio control rooms in this business where the so-called big shots and executives that are overseeing the production are actually sitting in the back watching what's going on in front of them so they can see everyone and everything that's going on. I'm not saying that me and McLovin are those people by any stretch.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that a lot of them sit in that very last row in trucks and in different broadcast areas, so they're getting a view of everything behind everyone that's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
You're running the show.
Exactly.
Okay, well then it should be great. You guys got a great view back there.
I get to hide behind the camera.
Yes. I don't know what you're doing most of the time. Yes, McLovin.
But I know as a fact, because I've been in trucks, that the talent always thinks those suits in the back are a waste of space.
Of course.
Sorry if any suits in the back are listening.
No, they are. They know they're wasted. Yes, Paulie.
I just touched Todd's computer, and I got called by HR. I got to meet with him at 1 o'clock.
No, because you see one
Todd. This doesn't mean, yes, you don't get to just talk. Switch back.
I have to say this.
Todd, switch back.
Can I say one thing?
No.
You get these websites that say,
Switch back.
look at your childhood stars, see where they are now or what they're doing, or you won't believe what this woman looks like from the 70s.
See,
and
this
you end
is
up
why,
clicking on it.
Todd, this is why you're not sitting there. Because, see, now you're just talking.
The snake eats at a crocodile, like a full-length crocodile. But you don't see them doing that. Because
Seton, would you turn off Fritzy's mic there? And you go back. This is a bad experiment. Hi, boys. How are you? Eric? Glad you guys could come by. We figure on Friday it might be cruel to have you guys smell what we're cooking here. Yeah. But, and then we had some dessert there, if you want to open that up. Check that out. Go ahead. So we got some pellets back there, and we'll let you guys set it up over there in the firehouse. And
Dan had a brand new one built this week for you guys.
Yeah. So that one's right out of the box, and our thanks to Traeger, but thank you to you guys. It's better than just giving you lunch here. Now we don't have to have you come over here for lunch.
Home sweet home.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome to the Dan Patrick Show.
The director of The Last Dance, Jason Hare, joins us on the program.
Getting to the bottom of the stories that really matter.
You okay with the pizza story? Now it's food poisoning, not the flu here, Jace?
A lot of people I saw online last night, and people were texting me asking, like, what kind of guy eats an entire pizza in a room full of grown men? Who doesn't grab a slice? So he came back, and he was pissed off because they ate without him. So he spat on the pizza so that nobody else could eat it.
And that is why Jordan's the greatest. LeBron would eat half the pizza and then he'd stop. He'd need a rest day. He'd get to the last slice. Probably wouldn't even want to eat it. He'd be like, here, you take the last slice.
Soft!
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
Jordan would have never done this.
This is Dan Patrick.
Oh, we got a new twist to the food poisoning story with Michael Jordan. Oh, we need another episode here of The Last Dance. Had this story for you coming up here. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Mike Florio will join us coming up. You've got some teams opening up facilities in the NFL, but not everybody is. And is that an unfair advantage? We'll talk to Florio about that coming up. Got a poll question. It's basically for clicks. Is that right, McLevin?
Absolutely. Who would you rather have as a teammate, Michael Jordan or LeBron James? 53% went MJ.
Yeah, I want LeBron to be my teammate. It depends on what kind of player you are. If you're a shooter, you want to play with LeBron. Yeah, McLevin.
You would fit right into that Paxson, Steve Kerr role.
Yeah.
6'3" white guy. You could have played with Jordan.
Yeah, but he might have punched me or something, I'm guessing. LeBron would have been a little bit nicer to me. LeBron would have been dishing the ball a little bit more to me than Mike would. I mean, understand, Kerr and Paxson, we talk about, Michael would dish them the ball. Check their stats. They didn't have that many shots. Just saying. They hit a couple of big shots. They weren't, got to work. It wasn't like they were Ray Allen here. Yeah, Fritzy.
If they were teammates, as LeBron was saying, they felt like he could match nicely with him and mesh with him. Could he handle Jordan in his face? I don't know how much Jordan was in Pippen's face as opposed to the other players on the team that had a more secondary role. But is LeBron tough enough to have MJ in his face if they were teammates?
I'm guessing LeBron would have been close to his level as Scottie was. Therefore, there would have been mutual respect. It's guys that are role players. Those are the guys that Michael picked on. He wasn't picking on Scottie. He was going to pick on guys that Scott Burrell, Steve Kerr, Bill Wennington, Bill Cartwright. He was picking on secondary players, but I don't think he would have been picking on LeBron. How LeBron would take that would be interesting. And would LeBron say anything to Michael? If they're of similar age, is he going to say something to Michael? But I don't, those two, I can guarantee that LeBron or Michael would have said something to LeBron more than LeBron would have said something to Michael if they were teammates. And I don't look at this as a weakness because, people have followed up by saying, don't you think that LeBron shows his weakness because he's saying he would want to play with Jordan as a teammate? No, he was asked about that. All he's saying is, how would I fit in with Michael as a teammate? He said I would be an upgrade over Scottie, basically. And that's true. He would have been an upgrade over Scottie Pippen. They would have meshed. They would have been fine. I don't look at this as a weakness and say, oh, yeah, LeBron, he couldn't handle it on his own. He wouldn't want to beat Michael. LeBron's not saying that. But I do think if Michael was asked the similar question and said, how do you think your game would work with LeBron? Knowing Michael, he would probably say, I don't know how it would work, but I would rather be playing against him than on the same team. Because that was the mindset back then. You didn't join teams. Now you join teams. Hey, I want to play with you. Back then, you were like, hey, this is my team and that's your team. And that's why you had great rivalries. It's not, hey, let's be Bird and Magic. They wanted to go against each other. That made them better. Nowadays, hey, I'd like to play with you. Can I play with you? Yeah, come on over. Play with me. Back then, no way. So that's the result so far from the first 2 hours, that they would rather play with Michael Jordan than LeBron. Yeah, McLevin.
I mean, that team would be impossible to cover. If you had MJ and LeBron coming downhill at a defense, That wouldn't be fair, right? I mean, it's not Wade and LeBron. I mean, MJ and LeBron would be.
Yeah.
There's just no way they would win.
Wait, there's no way that MJ and LeBron would win?
I mean, it'd be so unfair. It wouldn't even
yeah.
be. It wouldn't even be.
Well, that's not the
unless
point.
The Warriors.
No,
yeah,
that's not the point.
Yeah. I feel like I was just picturing the two of them. Imagine having to match up defensively against LeBron and MJ.
Well, it was hard enough matching up with Michael and Scotty, let alone you put LeBron out there. All right, Sunday night Last Dance revealed that Michael Jordan's infamous flu game was no longer the flu game. It was food poisoning. Jordan apparently was throwing up after eating bad pizza from a local pizza joint. So as the story goes, 5 guys delivered a pizza to Jordan late at night. This was the Park City Pizza Hut. They made the delivery there, and you had the manager, the assistant manager, Craig Fite, I believe is how it's pronounced, F-I-T-E. He was on 1280 The Zone in Salt Lake City. And he maintains that there weren't 5 guys. First of all, how many pizza places would have 5 guys employed at 10:30 at night? You might have 1 or 2 delivery guys, maybe 1 or 2 people. Did they close down the store and say, come on, we're going to Jordan's room? There's not 5 guys going to Jordan's room. Security would never allow that. Mike had security with him all the time. And then they're going to go, hey, got 5 guys from Pizza Hut. All right, yeah, come on in, guys. Come on. Although, Jordan and whoever else was in there, Tim Grover, his trainer, said 5 guys. Feels like we had our story all wrapped up here. Hey, guys, 5 guys came, delivered a pizza, right? And I got sick from the pizza, right? All right, that's good. Well, the assistant manager, he said the crap story, the guy said that there was 5 people. There were 2 of us, and I didn't even have that many people working at the time at the store. There was just 2 of us. So he had been hired as an assistant manager a couple of weeks earlier, and he claims that everybody knew that the pizza was being delivered to, but not specifically who. So everybody knew who the pizza was being delivered to. So they knew it was going to the Bulls Hotel. They did not know it was specifically going to Jordan. Which, how would you know that? It's not like Mike got on the phone and went, yeah, I'll hold. Yeah, I'll hold. Yeah, I want a large sausage pizza, thin crust, please. And, yeah, I'm in room 722 under Engelbert Humperdinck. Oh, okay. Sounds good. I don't know what Mike's alias was. So the pizza guy said they got a peek into Jordan's room, saw people playing cards at the time of the delivery. Jordan gave the delivery crew a wave in thanks, according to the manager of the Pizza Hut, and that was it. That's as far as the exchange went. Fite said after venturing through security checkpoints en route to the hotel room. You have security checkpoints. You're going to allow 5 people up there? No chance whatsoever. He said that there was 100% certain it wasn't food poisoning or it wasn't that pizza. Yes, Seton.
You know what's weird about the wording there? It says, Fite said he got a peek at Jordan in the room, saw him playing cards at the time of the delivery. Mm-hmm. Jordan gave the delivery crew a wave in thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Would you refer to one guy as a crew?
He said it was 2 guys.
Oh, so 2 is a crew instead of, see, like a crew to me says more like 5 guys.
Seton, it's called 2 Live Crew. Just saying.
Yeah, but that's not because it's 2 guys. It's because they're 2 live.
Just stay with me. Come on.
And also, you know what I think is great about this too? Is that then, does this story prove that the brown bottle flu game is a myth? Where he was out partying all night and was really hungover during the game? I mean, if this guy saw him in his hotel room playing cards, then you would assume that then he did stay in that night and wasn't out all night partying.
I don't know. It feels like he was either in Vegas, then somebody said he's at Robert Redford's chalet, and then I guess he was at the Marriott in downtown Salt Lake City.
How many delivery guys in downtown Salt Lake City right now think they're the person that delivered the pizza to Michael Jordan?
And taking credit for it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew this job at Pizza Hut was going to pay off. Yeah. I delivered the pizza to Michael. Yeah. Do I think Five Guys delivered the pizza? No, I don't. Did he have food poisoning? I'm going to say no. I would say probably not.
Maybe they got the pizza delivered after they got back from Vegas, but before they went out for the rest of the night.
And then went to the chalet.
It's actually
Redford
all
chalet.
of them.
Yeah.
They're all the same.
Yeah. The Last Slice coming up on ESPN. Deep dive, deep dish next. Why would Jordan Why would Jordan lie about this? You'd already made it home free with the flu game.
Like Seton said, he may not be lying. Like the pizza may not have been doctored, but he could have gotten sick
But
from
why
the pizza.
not stay with the flu game? It sounds so much better than food poisoning.
You're right.
Like the flu.
Because the flu game sounds like you were out partying all night. All of a sudden, you got a one-day flu? Really? Okay.
Yeah, but then there was the food poisoning. You're the only one who got the food poisoning because you spit on the pizza.
That's more believable, though. Food poisoning for a day getting a stomach bug is way more believable than I had the flu.
No.
LeBron would have shared the pizza and gotten everybody sick.
That's true. Yes, because he is a facilitator. See, Jordan's selfish. I'm going to have all the pizza. I want the only one to have food poisoning because that'll help my legacy here. Because then I'm going to torch the Utah Jazz.
Why did they send two guys to deliver the one pizza?
Well, they probably were like, fanboys and thinking, hey, we got a chance to, depending on who's this going to, maybe the assistant manager is going with the delivery guy. That's why I'm like, why can't the delivery guy just go?
Right.
The assistant manager probably said, hey, I'm gonna go over there. Maybe it's going to Jordan. Five Guys? I can't believe Five Guys would. How would security allow? Just imagine Michael. Security with him 24/7. Right? I'm surprised that anybody got up there. This is Utah on the road, and you're going to go, yeah, we're going to let Five Guys come up here? Five Guys to deliver a pizza. That doesn't make sense at all. Yeah, Fritzy.
And I think McLovin mentioned it yesterday. How do you know just the right things to put on pizza or anything to not kill somebody by accident or make them slip them into a coma that's just enough to give them a small dose of food poisoning? What ingredients does that entail?
I don't know.
And the amount of it.
I don't know how this works. If it was like spoiled cheese, I don't know. And
Fritzy,
Fritzy
you ever get into a fight and it was like, you're like, oh, what happened? You got beat up? You're like, yeah, it was like five guys. They just beat the crap out of me. You're like, nah, it's more like two.
Well, do you think
it felt more like five guys.
Do you think it takes away if it's only two guys who tried to poison you instead of five? Like it took a starting lineup to try to poison me. They were running a two-man game on me. Come on. You were already, we had already moved on. The flu game, the infamous flu game. Oh my God, the flu game. We were there. Now it's the food poisoning game. Yes, McLovin.
There is no way he wasn't at Robert Redford's restaurant.
No, it was a chalet. It wasn't a restaurant.
I looked it up. It's an open public restaurant at the top of right near Park City. You can go there. It's not his house.
Oh.
So Matt Guokas threw out, and Matt Guokas is one of the most honest men we've ever met.
Yeah, former NBA analyst.
By the way, he got some FaceTime. How was that guy the color guy for all of the NBA in the 90s? He was like a borderline player.
Oh, I know. I was told Jordan was in Park City. That I can only tell you, and it was 3 people who told me that Jordan was in Park City. That's all I know. All you know is you better do a better job the next time around with Jordan. Yes, Seton.
That's the one thing actually that I learned from this is that when you hear Jordan was in Park City, you're like, whoa, how did he get all the way out there? And then you find out, oh, it's only like 30 minutes away.
No, it's not far at all.
Oh, it's like right over the mountain.
Yes.
You can just go drive there. You can be there. And
when the director was on with us, Jason Hare, yesterday, he said Jordan was staying on the outskirts of Salt Lake City, which sounds like Park City to me. Just saying. Paulie, Get in your truck and start driving, and then do some research out there.
Check in from Park City
Yes.
and check in from Salt Lake City, and then drive right back.
It's great. It just goes along with Jordan. Jordan the myth.
Jordan's toughest opponent was a pizza.
Yeah. And even then, he out pizza the Hut. Or something like that. Yeah. Oh, it's such a good story. Not believable, but it's a good story. Yeah, Paulie.
If I'm a PR guy at Instant for Pizza
Pizza
Hut,
Hut.
I do a fake lawsuit against Michael Jordan and his people. Kind of just put it out there that we're considering suing.
Yeah, but then you don't want people to be mad at you.
Defamation.
Yeah. Well, the Jordan fans, then they're going to be mad. They're going to boycott.
Sign LeBron as your new spokesperson.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it all together.
It's going to cost you a lot of money. Yeah. Well, maybe Shaq says something. Can Shaq do something? Because he took over for Papa John, right?
Did he?
I think Shaq doesn't get paid to endorse a product. He becomes part of the company. Like that general, stuff. Shaq's part of that's part of his company, I think. Yeah, the whole Papa John's thing. It's like they got rid of Papa John, and I think Shaq slipped in there. Peyton Manning, he tapped out too, right?
Yeah, as soon as it got hot, he bailed.
But he had all of those. Well, yeah, when Papa John was saying what he was saying or doing what he was doing, and Peyton had all of those franchises, I think. He may still have those, quietly. Amy in Indiana joins us on the program. Hi, Amy. How are you? Hey, Amy.
She borrowed Frank's phone.
Frank,
apparently.
yeah, Frank from Ohio in the first time. Call back, Aim. Call back. All right, let me see. Anything else I need to mention? So we're gonna keep that poll question the rest of the hour, right, McLevin?
Yes, against your will. I know you're sick of this debate.
No, it's
but
okay. I just don't like when people, and I know it's one of those go-tos. Hey, who do you think's better, Jordan or LeBron? Let me let LeBron be done with his career. In fairness to LeBron, let me wait. It's not going to change anybody's opinion. And I think I still view, like LeBron is going to be underrated when it's all said and done because he's being compared to Michael Jordan. And we look at when you lose in the NBA Finals, somehow that's such a negative instead of getting your team there as many times as he has. Amy is back in Indiana. Amy, what happened?
I don't know. I'm trying real hard.
Okay. All right. What's on your mind, Amy?
Okay. So my husband is super skilled in survival skills. He carves wood. He built a cabin in the woods. He starts fires. Now, I agree that man camp is not a good title for something to bring a dude out. But there's a technical term for survival skills that I don't think should be used either. And I don't want to seem naughty, but that technical term is bushcraft.
Bushcraft.
Yes.
That's the technical term.
Yes. It doesn't sound survivalist.
Well, bush country. Well, thank you, Amy. I appreciate you helping us. We were talking about a man camp. Could you go to a man camp to teach you how to do things? Like if I was going to learn carpentry, because I was watching Maine Cabin Builders last night, and they just make it look easy. And I couldn't do it, but I'd love to learn it. But that's what they grew up doing. That they probably look at this and say they could never do this. But I've grown up doing this. Those guys, when they bring out their a miter saw?
Oh yeah,
something like that. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. But the best money I spend is when I spend it on somebody else doing a job for me. Yes, Eden.
Right. So I think that, we should probably differentiate things a little bit because there are definitely camps where you can go out and learn survival skills and they'll send you out into the woods for, a weekend or a week or something and teach you how to, build a shelter and a fire and stuff like that. I don't know of any man camps though that teach you how to renovate your kitchen or something like that though. That would be a unique one.
I don't want to be in survival mode. I would like
better be ready.
I'm already ready for that. But I want to be I'd like to be able to do certain things. If you said you could learn plumbing, I could learn some carpentry. I could, I guess, car repair. Do some things with that. I'd like to understand, the electrical work, because it always feels like I somehow get shocked. And I never know why I get shocked. But, when you have that fork and you put it in the outlet accidentally, you're going to get shocked. Just letting you know, Todd. Yes, Todd.
Where would you want this? In a big air-conditioned conference room at the Ritz-Carlton? What would be your ideal setting to set up shop to learn carpentry or plumbing for your optimum comfort?
Just an old barn. Why do I have to be in a Marriott or something, a conference room?
I know you were so down in the survival thing. So
Well, no, I don't want to survive while I'm doing this. I just want to get out of my car, go to a barn, and learn some carpentry stuff. I don't want to be going through barbed wire and, putting face paint on and being a Navy SEAL. Yeah, Paulie.
I got a buddy named Jesse up in Vermont, and he's a really good plumber. He really knows what he's doing. But if you ever ask him for help on plumbing needs at your house, he'll come over. All you got to do is provide some beer, and he'll walk you through it. But you have to do it. He'll stand there and say, you want to take this pipe and turn it off. Then you want to put this hose in. Then you want to do this. He'll make sure you don't screw it up. But I learned something when he does it. And all I got to do is buy like a 12-pack of beer. I think that's like the perfect thing. You have an expert walking you through it, but you have your hands on the equipment doing your best to learn it.
Why is it when we want to impress somebody that the story is really true, we give the name? So you don't have a friend in Vermont.
Right.
You got a friend named Jesse in Vermont.
He's a heck of a...
So now you know that is true.
He's legit.
You got a friend, Jesse. Yes, Eden.
That's the downside of being someone who knows a trade or something, is that you always have somebody who's like, hey, can you come over and help me fix my dryer? I got a squeak in there. And you're like, come on, dude. Like, I just got off work fixing dryers, and now I got to come over to your house and fix your dryer, probably for free.
It's no different than when I go out and then
Thanks
somebody
for the
says,
pizza and beer, but I'm good.
hey, we settle a debate over here. I got a question for you. I'm like, I just did this. I don't need to do this right now, right? And then, the car mechanic who comes home, and then you're going, hey, can you listen to this over here? Yeah, I was just saying, gosh, I haven't looked at enough cars today. I was looking for one more. Yeah, let me spend a couple hours over there. Let's put it up on the lift here. Yeah, that sounds great. All right, more phone calls coming up. We just got sidetracked, didn't we? I think it was Amy in Indiana who got us sidetracked there. Mike Florio will get us back on track here. We'll talk some football with him. It's 23 after the hour. Take a break here on the Dan Patrick Show. How would you describe your coaching style for those who aren't aware of it?
I mean, I'm energetic. I'm honest, compassionate, fair, loyal. I mean, I'm a lot of things based on what I feel is best for the player. I'm hands-on. You just try to look, when you try to coach and you try to make somebody better, you look at who they are, you look at what their personality is, and you try to do everything you can to improve the player, improve the person.
Can you treat everybody the same way?
No, I think you treat everybody fairly, but you have to treat everybody differently because people are going to learn differently. They're going to respond differently, and they're going to, they all have a different skill set. Everybody is different, and that wouldn't be any fun if everybody was the same.
What is the one trait I must have if I'm going to play for you?
You have to love football. You have to love to be able to grind. You have to have grit. You have to love your teammates, to put the team first. And you have to love to have fun and be able to not take yourself so seriously and be able to laugh at yourself. And that's what's beautiful about a locker room. So everybody comes together from different places, and you form a team, and it doesn't happen the first week or the second week. It happens over time. You begin to trust people. So it's pretty cool to be able to do that.
I loved your opening press conference with Tennessee. I mean, you were it wasn't like Belichick, that's for sure. You didn't take any tips from Belichick at a press conference, that's for sure.
No, I mean, I think that we come across, we come across a lot of people in our lives, and if we pay attention and focus, we can learn things from everybody. We can learn things that we want to do, that we like how they do it, and we're going to do it that way, or we can learn that we don't like it and I wouldn't do it that way. So you try to take things from everybody that you come across. And if you just I'm going to ask our players to pay attention and focus and try to learn something from every coach, every support staff in our building. We're going to have great people in place in our building that are going to help our players do their jobs, whether that be from the people in the cafeteria to people in the weight room to the equipment managers. You know, our players will know that their job is critical, and they'll thank them for what they do for our players.
Did you ever get in a fight?
Yeah, back in 8th grade, I fought this guy, Lee Nellis. He was picking on my buddy. I was like, Lee, you can't keep picking on Nate LaRosa. And I went out there and we got in a big fight, and I got suspended 3 days. My dad's like, what are you doing? I was like, hey, I don't know, Dad.
Oh, so never in baseball, though?
Yeah, I got in 2 fights in baseball.
You go to the mound?
I went to the mound. Coco Chris, remember the Coco Chris fight? So, did I tell this story before? Oh, so, this is a good one. So James Shields and Coco Chris were in Boston. Remember, he throws behind him? So I'm like, get ready, boys. William Wallace time. Everyone top step, and we're going, right? So next pitch, Shields pegs Coco Chris, and here comes Coco Chris. He comes flying out. Now, Coco was a boxer back in the day, I think in high school, Gold Glove boxer. Shields throws one of the biggest haymakers ever. I mean, go back and look at the replay. And Coco's like the Matrix, like just missing. Whoa! No, by like just a hair. Just misses him. He comes back, bow, hits Shields twice. And now I'm running out there as slow as anyone's ever run, but I'm kind of in the front. I'm like, oh man, it's such bad technique. But I get out there, and sure enough, I'm like, I'm going to go after James Shields, which is like, just in the moment, I thought I'd do it. So right when I go after James Shields, Johnny Gomes is bundling Coco Crisp over here. I run right by that, you know. So I get to the mound, and I'm like about to punch James Shields, and DeMarlo Hale, who's the third base coach, he grabs James Shields and he takes him down off the mound. So here I am with nobody. I'm like, oh my God, there's nobody. But I go to throw a punch, and I'm literally, no one's in front of me. So I turn it into like Macho Man Randy Savage elbow, just boom. I land on the mound. I'm like, oh. And like Justin Ruggiano put me in a headlock, starts like pounding me. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? I got a 3-game suspension. And I'm in the room with Bob Watson. He's like, I'm like, Bob, I just landed an elbow on the mound. Why have a 3-game suspension? He goes, Sean, as soon as you go like this, it's 3 games. I go, even if you land an elbow on the pitching mound? So that was my...
I like that you're trying to get out there to help your teammates, but you're so slow you can't get out there.
It was unbelievable. I'm like, here we go, guys. And here comes Jacoby Ellsbury. Just guys are just blowing by me. I'm like, I'm like the moped on the highway.
You're like, you're in slow motion. Everybody's going fast.
That's why I top stepped it. I was like, you guys stay on the bench. I'm going to top step it. You'll be flying by me right when we get to the mound.
Make sure you go to rockauto.com. All the parts your car or truck will ever need. Rockauto.com. Family business founded by automotive engineers back in 1999. 2 goals in mind. First, giving you direct access to all the parts information hidden in the computers and catalogs behind the parts store counter. And second, making sure those parts are affordable. They offer reliably low prices. Rockauto.com. Choose the part brands, prices, features you want anytime 24/7. Rockauto.com even has many of the parts you've been told dealer only are no longer available. Don't waste time phoning, driving, waiting in lines. You can go to rockauto.com, tell them that we sent you. All the parts your car or truck will ever need, rockauto.com. He is the popular Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk Live, co-host, profootballtalk.com. Joining us from, I believe, the barn in West Virginia. Are you a handyman around the house there, Mike?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. My dad taught me at a young age that there are people out there who have families who rely upon the revenue that comes from fixing things, doing stuff. So stimulate the economy, help people keep their families, hire someone to do these things.
Camps are opening up a little bit. Facilities are opening up, but this isn't universal here, Mike. I'm surprised that the commissioner, is he going to say something about this, or is there any unfair advantage with some of these teams having facilities open and other ones not?
Well, this is the first moment where the NFL has reached a point of disparity, Dan. 22 teams or thereabouts are in a position where state and local governments will allow them to open. Not all of them are opening right away, and some of them may take a little while, but 10 teams or thereabouts can't open at all. And look, there are going to be many situations like this. If the NFL is intent on getting 256 regular season games played, there will be disparities. There will be competitive disadvantages. And the NFL is smoothing this one out by saying no coaches are permitted at any team facility. But still, you've got teams that can fire up the lawnmower, get things rolling again, begin the process of planning for next year's draft, next year's free agency, have front office people there, have meetings, etc. And as we get closer and closer to the start of the season, Dan, I think we're going to see more of it. And the worst case scenario, and I think we have to be ready for it, some states where stadiums will be open and thus there will be a home field advantage. Other states where stadiums won't be open and teams will have no home field advantage. And I think that's unavoidable, but that's the extreme example of where there will be disadvantages as the NFL tries to play this season.
Which stadiums do you think will have fans this upcoming season?
Well, I mean, look, and I'm trying to be apolitical here, but we have all been paying attention to the states where there is more commercial activity despite the pandemic. I think Florida, Georgia, Texas, those are states that I would point to and say it's likely that the stadiums will be open. And the message will be, we know the risks. You know your health situation as well as anyone. If you want to come to the game, come to the game. If you think you're at risk, don't come to the game. And I think states like that are more likely to have stadiums open. California, New Jersey, states that are likely to not have stadiums open. And yes, there will be a disparity. And, teams will have to ask themselves, do we want to stay at home for the season and play in an empty stadium? Or do we want to go somewhere else where we could sell tickets? I mean, I don't know how robust the fan base is going to be if you move the 49ers to Arizona for the year, but that's part of it too, because you could have some fans versus having no fans at all. But I think that's going to be one of the practical realities as we get deeper into the calendar.
The NFL engineers and a sports equipment company, Oakley, are looking at surgical mask here, or the N95 material for these guys to. Is that going to be under your face mask here? Is a possibility?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's like a covering for the face mask. Remember that mask that Justin Tuck used to wear where it was so tight you couldn't even get a finger through it if you wanted to? I mean, will they paste it over top of that? Will be these? I think there'll be some players who say, I don't want that. I want my face mask. I don't want to have this thing where I'm going to have a hard time breathing. I'm not worried about getting the coronavirus. You're going to have some players who feel that way. You may have some players who want the extra protection. And then, of course, the guys who take the extra protection are going to be targeted to have their faces spit on by opponents. I mean, we know how football players are. They're not going to, we're going to respect the guy who's wearing the surgical mask. No, they're going to try to rip it off of his face and make him freak out because all's fair in football. At least that's going to be the mindset that some players have. So this to me is, it's got the potential to go a lot of different ways, but we have to accept the fact that football players are still going to be football players. And if there's a guy out there wearing surgical mask material, there's going to be somebody else out there trying to rip it off of his face.
Talking to Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk Live, co-host with Chris Sims. I was wondering about this, Mike, as we looked at the schedule in those first 4 weeks, and I was given a heads up. Look at the first 4 weeks and see if there's a way. Are there going to be NFC, AFC matches? Are there interconference, interdivisional, location of all of those things? And I started to wonder, okay, if we took those first 4 weeks and we moved it to the back of the schedule there, if the NFL, would they take that approach if it meant we would have a chance at fans in the stands? So you're going to postpone this and move it to the back, so that gives us an extra month to kind of figure this out. Your thoughts on that approach here?
Absolutely, Dan, absolutely. I think the NFL would explore delaying the start of the season, even if that means removing those first 4 weeks and tacking them on to the back end of the schedule, if it allows, from a political standpoint, not red state, blue state politics. I'm talking about working with the governors, working with the processes and the protocols behind the scenes to get people comfortable with taking the position, stadiums are open if you want to show up. If that extra month makes enough of a difference that all stadiums will be open, I think the NFL is conducive to doing it. But Dan, on that point, something else I noticed in the schedule, I think it's been constructed where if they don't think delaying the first 4 weeks altogether would be beneficial, I think they are hell-bent on going forward with week 1. When you look at all those great games that are scheduled for week 1, go with week 1 and then take a step back and reassess. And if something goes haywire, you can take the week 2 games. And all the teams that play in week 2 have byes the same week. You can push all those back into the bye weeks. Week 3, week 4, no divisional games. They can be wiped out or they can be tacked on at the back end. But I think if they do go forward with the schedule and without a delay based on, as you suggested, a full month to let stadiums open, it seems to me that they are ready to go week 1, and then they would be willing to take a step back and see if any adjustment is necessary based upon the consequences of playing a full slate of games.
The Rooney Rule surfaced again, and now there's incentive for teams if they're going to interview minority candidates, and maybe we improve your draft stock or we give you an extra draft pick here. I wonder if this just came down to Eric Bieniemy not getting a head coaching job, and to get interviewed, and maybe it's just one of the points, but here he is, a great offensive coordinator with the best offense in football, and you have other people who are getting jobs here. And Eric Bieniemy did not get a job. If Eric Bieniemy gets the job, is the Rooney Rule working?
Well, I think it's one of the factors, Dan, that contributed to the critical mass that caused people to realize something needs to be done, both as to coaches and as to general managers. Something Coach Dungy told me yesterday, the broadcast of the draft this year was a key factor in this decision to make real changes because we saw the contrast, the players' homes, the general managers' homes, and in pushing this forward. And I don't know which proposals are going to pass, but the idea of giving incentives, giving enhanced draft status for teams that actually make minority hires, there's a lot of opposition to that. Coach Dungy is against it. I think the best move would be to table that one and allow for more discussion, more ideas, maybe other ways to address the problem, short of creating a reward, as Coach Dungy says, for doing the right thing.
Yeah, I don't like the reward, and I agree with Tony that it sends the wrong message. I just hope that you get more minorities in coordinating positions. I think that's really the key. And getting, if they're head coaching jobs in college or you become a coordinator, and that ability to be able to then move up and become a head coach. Because Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach in the NFL, and hopefully we'll get that opportunity. And I've said before, Mike, not every assistant coach, coordinator deserves to be a head coach. Romeo Crennel, I don't think was a head coach. I don't think Charlie Weiss was a head coach. There are certain personalities where you have to be ready for that. You can be a great coordinator. That doesn't make you a great coach. And I think sometimes we get caught up in, you got to give them a head coaching job. It doesn't mean that. And plus, I think with African Americans, minorities, they have even more pressure to succeed because if they don't succeed, then it hurts the next one, and it's going to hurt your chance to get another one. So there's a lot there to unravel, but I don't know if we have a great answer right now.
Hey, Dan, one key area of focus that I think the NFL needs to really be looking at is the entry-level dynamics. You got a lot of nepotism, you got a lot of cronyism, and you got teams that do not pay a living wage to the lowest level employees. That's a point Chris Sims made today on PFTOT because he was one of those low-level guys who was making peanuts in that first level job. Not everyone can say, sure, I'll work for nothing. Guys have families. Guys don't have football money in the bank like Chris Sims had. Guys don't have Phil Sims money as a fallback like Chris Sims had. You can't just say, sure, I'll work 18 hours a day for nothing if I got a family at home that I have to worry about. It eliminates a lot of guys that otherwise could be very good at that job. Maybe they need to pay more money on the way in the door, and it will attract a more diverse group of candidates.
Always great to talk to you, Michael. Thank you, buddy.
All right, Dan. See you, pal.
That's Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk Live, co-host with Chris Sims, also ProFootballTalk.com. We'll extend the last call for phone calls coming up here, and we'll have the final results of the poll question, what we learned, what's in store tomorrow, this day in sports history. Of course, Todd's scoreboard. I don't think we have a winner yet. This could be a first. Maybe not a winner here, Toddler. We'll come back with, 40 and 5 are the two numbers.
40 and 5.
40 and 5. We'll come back. Boy, that's a reason to come back. Todd's scoreboard.
Come on, that's way to sell it. Thanks.
Yeah, you've been kind of quiet on mock headlines, too. I'm waiting for that to come back.
I got so banged around about it. Said Seton leading the charge of like, you know what? Why don't we do this never again? But I do need to do that. It's been quite a while.
Okay, let's go around the room. Who votes never on Todd with mock headlines?
Never is a long time.
I know. Never. McLovin, how are you voting on Todd's mock headlines?
Never is too long.
Okay.
I feel that.
How
would
about
paint us in a
the
corner.
next 4.5 years? Seton, where do you stand on mock headlines?
That's actually coincidentally, the mock headlines thing is also Todd's scoreboard. We should allow it 5 times a year and no more than 40 headlines per segment. Did I get it?
Is that a no?
Secretly loves my mock headlines.
I do love his mock headlines.
He's always my biggest supporter, so that's why this is very strange.
Oh, he
He's
leads
always
you
the
to
one that
slaughter. He leads you to slaughter. He's like,
No,
yeah.
that's Paulie that does that.
Yeah, that's
See, I
Paulie. I'm
take
not
it-
the one that leads. I just want him to be better. I just want them to be better.
Paulie, where do you vote on mock headlines with Todd?
It would be like voting. Stopping mock headlines would be like me voting to not see people fall on ice during the winter anymore. I don't want people to fall on ice and get injured. But man, I laugh my butt off when I see
He's
it.
very honest. You got to respect that.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to be Jordan to your Scotty Burrell. I try to make you better, Todd.
I know, but we all know that I still, to this day, after 18 years ago, I can't handle that. Unless you have something wonderful to say about the job I'm doing, I can't handle criticism, whether it's constructive or meant to be mean, snarky, sarcastic. I fall apart. I'm very sensitive, and you either have something nice to say or I don't want to hear it.
Should you be on the air?
At all?
Yeah.
Meaning what? Like I don't bring anything to the table, even in the course of the 3
but just the
hours?
sensitivity. Well, but just the sensitivity.
I walked into that one. No, I can handle being on the air, but when I don't know, well, especially when it comes from you, it ruins my day. If you have anything less than wonderful, bouquet of roses to throw.
I
in
know,
my
but
direction.
I just can't. It's so tired.
It's very immature on my part. I'm 50. You would think by now I would have figured out how to,
Yes, Paul.
compartmentalize.
It's ironic,
criticism.
Dan, that you brought up constructive criticism. There was a clip of Bill Belichick, young Bill Belichick, that was tweeted out today just randomly. And Belichick says, quote, "I don't know how you can improve unless you accept constructive criticism. I don't know how you can get any better," unquote. And it happened to be posted by Bill Belichick.
And he was talking about Fritzy?
Not specifically.
Oh, he
Todd.
wasn't. Okay. I didn't know
And
that.
that's how you get stuck in mediocrity and bad mock headlines because you don't listen to advice and you
Yes,
just think you
Seton.
got all the answers.
I think Todd just summed it up.
Same thing with the comedy. No, I'm good. I'm hilarious. I don't need why would I need Adam Sandler or David Spade or anybody to?
That's what we got to try and figure out. Is Todd the crazy one or are we? Todd's just like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to keep doing my thing. Or are we the crazy ones? We're like, no, do it better.
I'm okay with slightly above average for the
The fact that I was going to get Adam Sandler and Rob Schneider and David Spade to help you with your stand-up, and you said no.
Oh, that would have been a good time there, Danny. But Fritzy thinks he's funnier than the rest of us.
You don't want any blame, but you want all the credit.
That's very well said.
Thank you, Todd.
I'm still, to this day, I will say this. I know you got to go to break and we got to get my scoreboard and everything. But I will say that the opportunity to perform, if you could call it that, at the Comedy Store and Caroline's, thanks to you and the French kid, that's cool. That was crazy.
How about the opportunity to perform well at those places?
It would be nice. That would be an added bonus if I got an actual
Who
laugh.
wouldn't want to perform well at the Comedy
Not
Store?
All right.
soil my name and reputation.
Yeah.
I think you got to go to break now.
Thank you, Todd.
43 past the
Thank you,
hour.
Todd. Back after this. You called me the Charlotte Observer. You remember this? Because I observed for a couple of months, I think, that I was just there watching you guys do SportsCenter. And I got to the point where I go, I think I got it down here. And then they said, all right, you're going to do your first SportsCenter. You had just done the 11 o'clock SportsCenter. And you said, I'll stay and do the SportsCenter with you. And that might have been, I don't know if it was a 1 o'clock or a 2 o'clock, but you were staying late. And I never forgot that. It's one of the kindest gestures that you ever did, and you've done an awful lot, but you stayed, and I got the intimidation out of the way because I did a show with you, survived, and then I moved on from there.
You caught me on a bad day. You observed for that. What did you observe for too much? Because now the ESPN I came to, 3 weeks old,
yeah.
October 1st, 79, was a little different than the ESPN you came to. Although when was this? Late 80s, Dan? Like
89.
Okay, so you were coming from CNN. You did the show. You knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
So me, I'm 24. I've been on TV in Hartford for 3 months. I started, you're going to do the overnight show at 3 a.m. You're going to watch one night. Well, they didn't tell me one night. Watch what this guy does at the 3 a.m. sign-off show. And I came in October 2nd, my second night, and says, well, where's Wayne Hagen? Well, he's not here. You're doing the show. What? So I had a quick, I was the Charlotte Glancer.
Did you almost not work at ESPN?
Never come there, you mean?
Yeah.
Way back then?
Yeah.
Well, no. Hartford TV was just the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, $23 Saturday night and $23 Sunday night at the NBC in Hartford.
Killing it.
Minimum wage, pal.
Yeah.
And no, I applied because they were just starting. I said, I don't have a tape to send you. Why don't you watch me?
But you knew nothing about what it was.
I knew it was starting. So I went over there, not there, but there was some other place like late August or early September to, hey, would you consider me? And then I got a phone call. I was working radio during the week, TV on the weekend, Dan, but again, for nothing. Would you like to do our overnight, our sign-off at the time show? I'm making a combination of maybe 10. They said, we'll pay you 16. Where do I sign up? 3 a.m., I did that pretty much for 4 years, other than the football. It was okay. It was,
but also
traffic wasn't bad going home.
I'm wondering if you came along 10 years later.
Good question. With that experience, never would have been hired. I mean, I'd already been on for 3 months, but really...
But also your style.
Okay. Well, interesting question. They would have had to have decided, if we're looking at this, let's say I was on local or Hartford or somewhere TV for a few years doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say I was Warner Wolf, but he was certainly upbeat, and that did exist, just not...
Yeah.
Of course, local sports would be 5 minutes. You won't have time to do nicknames of the Seattle Mariners if you're working in Connecticut, They would have had to decide ahead of time if this is for us or not. Me, it was throw him on. I think he can speak in complete sentences, and we'll see how it goes.
But there was no blueprint for what you were doing.
No.
Nationally.
No, and there was no blueprint, Dan, for the show, a half-hour of sports. Walter Cronkite only had a half an hour. Yeah. That's real news, if you think about it. So there's no blueprint for any of it. We're in Houston, Mercury astronauts. We went up, circled around, and hoped we came down in the ocean.
Tell me if this story's true. You tried to get tossed from a game.
That's a true story, yeah.
All right. Tell me the story.
Well, it was Danny Ainge. We were in Miami, and the Masters, the final Sunday Masters was on. Tiger was making a run. And Danny says at halftime, he's like, this game doesn't mean anything. We're already set in our playoff position. Get thrown out so we can watch the end of it. So I go out, and I actually thought it was Jake Crawford. It was Danny Crawford. And I'm going at him. Like, it's 5 seconds into the second half. And he does this. He's like, I want to watch it too. Yeah, you're going nowhere. You can just say anything. And so
So the official doesn't want to throw you out because he wants to watch the Masters.
He wants to watch it too. He's punishing me, which was pretty funny.
Have you ever been thrown out of a game that you wanted to be thrown out of a game?
Yeah, every once in a while. You do it for the team.
But does it work?
No, it doesn't work.
And what do you do after you're thrown out?
It's funny. When you go in the back, there's nothing to do. I got thrown out one game in Boston in the first half, which was early to get thrown out of a game.
Yeah.
Tim Donahue threw me out 5 minutes into a game. So I felt powerful. Like when I read what he did, I was like, maybe he thought I was a pretty good coach and I could hurt him. But you don't do anything. You sit in the back. Well, this game in the second half, Tibbs was actually the assistant coach. He wouldn't sub. And so I'm using my cell phone trying to call the trainer to tell him to sub, and the trainer wouldn't answer the phone. So it was a frustrating.
Do you think he saw that it says Doc on it?
Yeah, he probably put it back in.
Time to pick up your guitar and play, just like yesterday. Happy birthday to Pete Townsend, 75 today. Seton O'Connor, big fan of The Who. I'm sure you'll be cranking some Who songs, maybe some Quadrophenia,
Yeah, Squeeze Box is a big one in
You
my
like
house.
Squeeze Box?
We do like Squeeze Box, yeah.
When I was growing up, I had another idea of what Squeeze Box was, and then I realized it's an accordion. Mama's got a squeeze box. Daddy never sleeps at night. And I'm like, wait a minute here.
Hello.
Yeah, and then I think it's an accordion, the squeeze box there.
How disappointed were you?
Oh, I know. I'm like, oh my God, it's an accordion. This is a Who. Come on. You're not supposed to be singing about other things than an accordion. All right, Fritzy, we have a winner. Neil in Connecticut. Fritzy's scoreboard challenge. The number's 40 and 5. Make it brief, Todd.
All right. The clue for 40 is bad to the bone.
All right.
And the clue for 5 is Mission Impossible, ? You want
Okay.
to guess or you want me to just give you the answer?
I want you to give me the answer.
Okay, bad to the bone as in the Bad Boys. Bill Lambier, born on this date, May 19th, 1957. Mission Impossible was when Kevin Garnett, wearing jersey number 5, May 19th. I don't know why I wrote actually, May 19th, 1976, Kevin Garnett was born. I know he also wore number 21, but we went with the number 5 for the Celtics championship, 40 and 5.
Thank you, Todd. Neil
I
in
don't know if that
Connecticut.
was brief, really.
Thank you. Neil in Connecticut is the winner, and we have some T-shirts to give away. By the way, Chat Row T-shirts are available. Although the better T-shirt is the one with Penny, the house dog, on it, and I might just order one, maybe just make one, and it'll be one of one, the Penny T-shirt. It's a great T-shirt. All right, McLovin, final results of the poll question.
Who would you rather have as a teammate, MJ or LeBron? 53% MJ.
Okay. Let me see. Dino in New York is back. Hi, Dino. What do you have for me today?
Hey, DP, 5'9", 197. A great documentary I'd love to see would be the 77 and 78 Yankees, the Bronx Zoo. What a cast of characters: George, Billy, Reggie, Thurman, Sparky Lyle, Nettles. And there was a new fire to put out every single day. It seemed like it would be really entertaining. And one last thing, suck it, Seton.
All right. Thank you, Dino. It feels like we've done the Bronx Zoo before. At least there was a book written on that. Yeah, McLevin.
Yeah, they did a fictional series. Remember that?
Oh, that's
About
right.
10 years ago?
Yeah.
On the Bronx Zoo, based on that book.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of football ones. The Cowboys with Jimmy and Jerry, I think, would be great. I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't know basketball-wise if we'd have anything that would... You can't imagine doing a documentary on a basketball team after what we just saw with the Bulls. But football-wise, you could still do that. There's still tension between Jimmy and Jerry now. That would be fun. Dredge that up again. Go around the room. Frank Reich, the Colts head coach, will join us. Frank, I think he's involved in the 2 greatest comebacks in college football and pro football history. Is that right? I think he was the quarterback at Maryland when they were down 31 points and came back to win. And then he was the quarterback with the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Oilers when they were down 35 points or something crazy like that in that game, that playoff game. Does that sound right, McLovin? Frank Reich, I think,
exactly right.
has been the quarterback of the 2 greatest comebacks, and maybe somebody has surpassed that with college football. I don't know. Chip Kelly from the UCLA Bruins will join us as well. Fritzy, what did you learn today?
It's a positive sign that we're not getting more speculation from the NBA as to when they're coming back.
I think it is that we haven't heard anything, and I think that's a good thing. And we had Woj on, and he says maybe Orlando is going to be the destination. Maybe you have Las Vegas and Orlando for the West Coast teams and the East Coast teams when they start the playoffs. Where do you play the championship? The NBA Finals, probably on Orlando. McLevin, what did you learn?
Sean Casey is not great at guitar.
It's all about trying, McLevin. Seton O'Connor.
I learned there's a slight window of possibility that every single Michael Jordan conspiracy theory for that night is true. Maybe he was in Vegas and at Robert Redford's and ate the pizza.
With 5 guys. Paulie, what'd you learn?
Sean Casey, former Major League Baseball player, now his career is over, is getting in great shape.
What we learned brought to you by Traeger. They want to help make this summer the tastiest one ever. Real wood-fired flavor, next-level versatility, 6-in-1 versatility. Contact your local dealer or go to TraegerGrills.com/DP show to get yours today. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you tomorrow. Dan Patrick Show.